Chapter 3683. Million Swordsmen. The first is more. Demon Domain. On the huge battlefield, bones are everywhere. The decisive battle between the Jiawei tribe and the other three major deities has reached the final stage. The general situation is gone. Three patriarchs. Do you still have to fight to the end? Shower looked cold and proudly stood there. His cold eyes glanced at the patriarchs of the three major protoss in front. Beside Shower, the demon of the sand and sea stood there with respect, clearly a super powerful who had reached the extreme of the 6 realms. But beside Shower, he was like a slave. In the surrounding battlefields, the situation is completely sideways. The three major protoss camps have already shown a trend of defeat. Even if they continue to fight, they are only fighting the trapped beasts, and still cannot change the ending. This scene made the faces of the three major protoss ugly. Three patriarchs, I will give you a chance, surrender or perish. Shower snarled. The three protoss clan faces looked at each other. Although they have a lot of unwillingness in their hearts, now they have no choice at all in the face of the absolute strength gap. Submit it. The current patriarch of the blood race first spoke. The blood race, because the sword Wuxia took the Shenhua Lord and the evil fire monster into it at the time, and killed the blood patriarch at that time. The blood race has been greatly injured, and they have not completely recovered until now. Inside, the blood race is the weakest. Even the current blood race chief, he has great luck in becoming a patriarch. In the face of absolute strength, he has no room to struggle, and is willing to surrender directly. As for the other two major protoss patriarchs, they sighed and chose to submit immediately. Since then, the 4 major deities of the demon realm are completely respected by the nine-tailed tribe, and the other 3 major deities have completely surrendered at the feet of the nine-tailed tribe. A moment later, the war came to an end, but at this time, Shower immediately ordered, all people, immediately restore the state of divine power as quickly as possible, and after half an hour follow me. This order surprised everyone. Nine-tailed patriarch, half an hour later, where do you want us to go with you? The ancient patriarch asked. 3 sacred realms. Shower's eyes emerged with amazing coldness. Chop Sky Alliance, one of the 2 oldest nests, Chop Sky Star. This celestial star was originally the location of the Celestial Palace, where the top geniuses in the Celestial Alliance gathered here. But at this moment, in addition to the many genius powerhouses on the Celestial Star, there are also countless top powerhouses in the Celestial Alliance. These are led by the 3 lords of the Temple of Heaven, and the leaders responsible for the battle. There are hundreds of rulers, with a minimum of nearly 100,000, and reaching an army of 6th-order true saints. It can be said that the Celestial Alliance has been able to gather all the high-level combat power that can now be mobilized. So many people have gathered, nearly 100,000 or more of the true saints, and hundreds of rulers. What is this to do? Among the dense crowd, many talented disciples of Zhan Tiangong are also mixed in. At this moment, the talented disciples of Zhan Tiangong are trembling. It's not just them. In fact, there are many strong Xingtiangong players present. Although they have gathered here, they do know exactly what they are going to do during this trip. So when they saw the power that Zediaming now gathered, they also knew in their hearts. All set off huge waves. And in the front of the crowd, the 3 palace masters of the heavenly palace and the leaders stood side by side. I have gathered here all the highest combat powers that can be mobilized. Only those who have traveled to the cosmic battlefield before can't come back in a short time, otherwise, said a leader. It doesn't matter. The master of the Shuiyun Palace waved his hand. This time, not only I cut the Tianming family, but also the Time and Space Temple and the Tianzu Dojo. It is said that the 4 major protoss and the 8-party Tianzong will also participate in the battle. There is only one, that is the 3 holy realms. This battle, the 3 holy realms will be destroyed. Those leaders were excited. Just then, one of the 3 main palace masters asked the demon to suddenly open his eyes. The Lord's order has arrived. The leaders and the other 2 palace masters were shocked. That being the case, let's go. Suddenly, the Heavenly Alliance, a powerful army composed of hundreds of rulers, and nearly 100,000 or more orders of true sages, went straight to the triple sky. At the same time, in the Temple of Time and Space, with the ancestors of Tianzu, the Temple of Time and Space has gathered all the top saints that can be assembled, and the main combat power of the rule. This assembly did not leave any room. The Temple of Time and Space gathered more than 80 rulers, and there were hundreds of top saints. In addition, at the highest level of fighting power, the 4 ancient immortals, who had never asked the world, came here in person. As for the Tianzu Taoism, there are countless powerful people. At this moment, hundreds of rulers and nearly 100,000 saints are assembled. At the moment when the Confederate Army was dispatched, the Time and Space Temple and the powerful army of the Tianzu Dojo also set off. In addition, there are also the 8 Fang Tianzong, an army composed of 6 of them. There are also dozens of ancient ancestral gates in the early Taishan world, such as Zixumen and Taisheng Wenqingqing. At this moment, everyone is pointing directly at the 3 sanctuaries in the 3rd heaven. The 3rd sky, after the 4th sky was completely extinct, has become an absolute cultivation holy land in the early days. And the 3 sacred realms that occupy the highest place occupy the best territory in the 3rd heavenly cultivation environment. In normal times, the triple sky has always been extremely lively, especially those territories around the 3 sacred realms, which are closer to the 3 sacred realms, and these territories also have a lot of benefits and prosperity. But today, the territories around the 3 sacred realms seem extraordinarily quiet. The reason for this is because there are countless strong armies from all directions, passing over these territories. The exuberant breath was sweeping away wildly, making the practitioners in these territories as long as the birds of surprise. So many powerful people, this is more than 100,000, right? And there are so many rulers. Look at them, they are heading for the 3 holy realms. What's going on? What's the matter? How come there are so many strong men heading towards the 3 holy realms? Is it within the 3 holy realms that something has happened? Every thought came to the minds of many practitioners in the triple sky. Most of the practitioners in the triple sky are not sure what happened, but they can see from all directions that the army of strong men rushing past the 3 sacred realms has seen that the 3 sacred realms must be a major event. Chapter 3684. Hey, the second is here. The 3 sacred realms stand on the overwhelming overlords of the divine realm in the early days. Here was the holy land for cultivation that countless practitioners dreamed of. Here countless top powerhouses have been born. Here countless practitioners have looked up for it. The 3 holy realms have always been high above the ground, and they are insurmountable. The Lord of the 3 great sacred realms represents the heavenly will of the Tai Chi divine realm. In the Tai Chi divine realm, he speaks and follows the law, attracting countless strong worshippers. Until now, the 3 sacred realms are still heaven in the hearts of most practitioners in the early world of the gods. But today these 3 holy sanctuaries, which are high above them, are surrounded by countless strong people. On the east side of the puppet, it is also directly in front of the 3 sacred realms, guarded by the Chou Tianming family. As the first alliance recognized by the gods in the early days, the strength of Tianming is undoubtedly extremely powerful. To some extent, the strength of Tianming is even stronger than the Holy Land of one side. But now, the Heavenly Alliance is led by 3 palace masters and those leaders, bringing together hundreds of rule masters, nearly 100,000 or higher true saints, gathered here, just waiting for an order. This is near the army of 100,000 strong men directly attacked the 3 holy realms from the front. On the south side, it is guarded by the deep and powerful forces of the beginning of the world of God, such as the Temple of Time and Space, one of the 3 major free alliances plus Zixumen, Taisheng Wenguang Valley. The Temple of Time and Space, although the overall strength of the 3 major free alliances is relatively weak. After all, they have a small number of practitioners, but they are not much worse than the other 2 major free alliances in terms of top combat power. As for dozens of powerful forces with deep heritage, such as Zixumen and Taisheng Wenguang, they do indeed have too many masters of rules, but they have countless practitioners at the saint level, so the 2 parties just fit together. Also has a rule of hundreds of rules, but also has an army of more than 100,000 undead saints. To the north, led by the top powerful man called Tianzu in the Tianzu dojo, like Yozu, Lingzu, and even Bloodzu, have been driven back from the universe battlefield. This one is called the ancestor's top powers, led his countless powers. In addition, there are two major Tianzong coalition forces among the 6 parties. Add up, there are more than 100 rulers gathered in the north. As for the army above the 6th order true sage, it has even reached 150,000. The west side is behind the 3 holy realms. According to their speculations on Jian Wushuang, once the 3 sacred realms are defeated, countless practitioners in it will most likely choose to flee to the rear. Therefore, the fighting force defending the last side is definitely the strongest. This battle power, with Shower as the leader, Her Majesty brought together the battle power of the 4 major Protoss. You should know that each of the 4 major Protoss is extremely tyrannical. During the peak period, there were more than 10 or 20 masters of the Protoss on either side of the Protoss. The 9-tailed tribe was even better, because of Shower the rulers of the rules of convergence have reached as many as 60 or 70. Even though they have just experienced a big war, the 4 major Protoss lost a lot of fighting power. But after the integration of the 4 major Protoss, there are still more than 120 rulers, and others such as the Blood Mink, the top ethnic groups in the demon realm, such as the Demon Ape and others, were also present. I can say that in this battle, Shower led the highest combat power of nearly 90% of the entire demon domain. In addition, there are the remaining 4-party Tianzong Alliance, among the 6-party Tianzong Alliance. All of these add up. The combat power here is amazing. There are nearly 200 rulers alone. As for the powerful army above the 6th order true saint, it is more than 300,000. This strongest combat force will completely block the path of the practitioners of the 3 sacred realms, and not give them any chance to escape. Of course, although the 3 sacred realms have been surrounded by water, there is still the most important link to really destroy the 3 sacred realms and uproot them. If this link is not done, this time the coalition operation was just a joke. This link is the Lord of the 3 holy realms. The 3 lords of the holy realm have blessings from the heavenly will. They represent the heavenly will of the early gods. With the presence of these 3 sacred masters, the 3 sacred realms rest in peace. So if you want to destroy the 3 holy realms, you must first kill the 3 holy masters. However, the strengths of the 3 sacred realms are there. In the early days of the divine realm, even the powers of the master level could not exert their peak strengths. There was no way to take the 3 sacred realms. Humming, the space shook slightly. In the empty void around the 3 nests of the old sanctuary, 3 figures emerged one after another. These 3 figures are naturally the Sword Unparalleled, the Lord of the Sky, and the Lord of Time and Space. As soon as they arrived in the void, they noticed the surroundings of the 3 sacred realms, the countless army of powerful men gathered. It's all here. It seems that we are just waiting for our shot. The Master of Space and Time smiled. This time, it can be said that the top powers of the early divine realm gathered together, and they jointly shot at the 3 sacred realms. On the overall strength, the coalition force used this time is much stronger than the 3 sacred realms. The power of the great sanctuary to be completely destroyed. The Lord of the Heavens said, but he suddenly turned his head. However, to truly uproot the 3 holy realms, you must first kill the 3 holy masters, and this step, even if I, Spacetime, and Tianzu join forces, they can't do it. Only Jian Tianho can do this. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. In addition, Xianshan has also received news that Xingong is fully prepared. As long as we have a pair of 3 sacred realms here, he and Tianzu will take the entire Xingong strong, and immediately kill it. The base of the 3 holy realms in the universe battlefield is the existence of the Holy Island. Destroy the Holy Island? Jian Wushuang frowned slightly. The masters who arrived from Demon Star are not within the Holy Island? There are those masters, mysterious gods. They are not so easy to handle. No. The Lord of Time and Space shook his head. Xianshan has already planted manpower in the Holy Dan. But the news from the Holy Island said that the three masters who have arrived at the Demon Star have left the Holy Itsen Island. I do indeed know where to go. But Xian Shen guessed that the three masters may have come to the early world of the gods, and 8 achievements were in the nests of these 3 holy realms. 3 masters, are they there? Jian Wushuang glanced at the void ahead. The power of his soul has already been covered out, but the 3 sacred realms have become too vast, and there are still many obstacles blocking them. Even he cannot sense the breath of the 3 masters from the inside. Chapter 3685. The first is here. 3 lords of the holy realm, plus 3 lords. Although the 3 lords are limited by the heavens and cannot exert their peak strength, but the 3 men work together, and their combat power should not be weaker than a true lord. And the 3 masters may still have special treasures in their hands. Jian Tianhou, are you sure? Asked the leader of the Celestial Alliance. Okay. Qi Jian Wushuang nodded calmly. Let the people in the chaotic world of the ancient world come out first. Jian Wushuang waved his hand gently, and the void in front of him broke apart instantly. A complete space channel had been formed. At the same time, in the unparalleled holy city of the chaotic world of ancient times, the many practitioners who are waiting carefully, at this moment all heard Jian Wushuang's voice. Everyone get ready to leave. At the moment when Jian Wushuang's voice fell, a huge space passage immediately appeared in the void above the Wushuang holy city. Seeing the formation of this space channel, many practitioners below showed their excitement, and followed one after another toward the space channel. Through the space channel, these people soon appeared in the void in front of the sword without 2 sides. I saw dense figures, including the 7-star Xuanzong and the 4 great Protoss, the 8 Feng Tianzong left in the chaotic world of the ancient chaos, as well as the indigenous practitioners of the chaotic world of the ancient chaos. They are the first time to truly set foot in the early world. Therefore, when they appeared in the void of the divine realm in the early days, they looked around and felt the void around them for the first time. Here is the beginning of the divine realm? Abundant Reiki is indeed much more abundant than our eternal chaotic world. The space here is also very stable. The sound of exclamation sounded one after another. The indigenous practitioners of the chaotic world of eternity are all excited and shocked at this moment. But the brows of Qixing Xuanzong and the 4 great Protoss and Bifeng Tianzong left behind are now frowning. Here is the 3rd heaven. Where are the 3 holy realms? Xian Yin sank before the old nest of the 3 holy realms. Are you the Lord of Space and Time? And this one next to you, Lord of the Heavens? Xian Yan's eyes narrowed slightly. One of the 3 masters of Qixing Xuanzong's combat power punished Xian Yan, the master of Tiangong Palace, and long praised his name. The master of space and time smiled. All of you. Jian Wushuang's eyes came over. This is the old nest of the 3 sacred realms, but now the 3 sacred realms have been adopted by the 3 major free alliances, the 4 major Protoss, the 6-party heavenly ancestors, and many of the early gods. The water from the ancient ancestral gate is leaking. Next, the 3 sacred realms will be completely destroyed, and all you have to do is stay here and watch quietly. After the destruction of the 3 sacred realms, the people of Qixing Xuanzong will accept this territory again. The 7-star Xuanzong all looked at each other, and immediately nodded secretly. Although they have now returned to the early divine realm, they are still in the weakest state, and their combat power has not reached its peak at this time. Even if they shot at this time, they could not help the sword unparalleled too much. It would be better to watch it change. As for everyone in the chaotic world of ancient times, you are also staying in this void. Do NT run around. The scene will be quite chaotic. You stay here. The 7-star Xuanzong will protect you. But if you run around accidentally involved in this war, it can become cannon fodder at any time. Jian Wushuang said. The indigenous practitioners from the chaotic world of ancient times all nodded. In the chaotic world of ancient times, although they are the great emperor level, they are the top superpowers, but they are only ants in the early world of God. Jian Wushuang said that they are cannon fodder. There. Wu Jinshuang like his parents Wang Yuan and Su Rou. After a few words of explanation, they waved their hands. It is time to get rid of the sky and time. The Lord of the Beasts and the Lord of Space and Time nodded in unison, and the three figures flashed in the next moment, already disappearing in this void. And in the forefront, above the vast territory of the three sacred realms, boom, 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 30 terrible breaths came suddenly. These 3 breaths, any one of them is ridiculously strong, and placed in the realm of the gods in the early days, is absolutely a deterrent to eternal existence. 33 figures also appeared above the void above the 3 holy realms. Time and space. Wu Jianwuxuang glanced at the Lord of Time and Space. The Lord of Time and Space Palace smiled lightly, followed by a big wave of his hands, and the power of time and space suddenly swept out like tide. In the blink of an eye, the entire 3 sacred realms were completely covered. The territory of the 3 sacred realms was completely banned and blocked. Time and space, I haven't seen you in many years. Now your application of the rules of time and space is becoming more and more sophisticated. Under the premise that the power of the gods was limited in the early days, you can still easily make the entire 3 holy realms time and space are completely imprisoned, which is really a good way. The leader of the Cut Sky Alliance laughed. Don't brag about me. I'm also the assistant of sometimes empty treasures. If I alone, it's really difficult to do this, said the Lord of Time and Space. The old nests of the 3 major sanctuaries are extremely large in scope. It is really difficult to completely cover the entire 3 major sanctuaries at once. Like Jianwuxuang, he is also good at the rules of time and space, but even if he relies on the painting of the golden flag of the sky to do his best to display imprisonment in time and space, I am afraid that he can barely cover half of the sacred realm. But the Master of Time and Space covers 3 at a time. The Great Sanctuary, even if it really uses the treasures of time and space, it is still very amazing. The time and space of the 3 sacred realms are completely blocked, which means that this earth-shattering battle has begun. And in the situation where the Swordsman 3 descended on the void above the 3 sacred realms, a huge mirror image appeared in the void in the 4 directions around the 3 sacred realms. In the mirrored picture, it was the sword Wuxuang, the scene where the 3 men, the Lord of the Heavens and the Lord of Time and Space, descended over the 3 sacred realms. It's the leader of the Alliance and the Lord of Time and Space. When the 3 men appeared in the picture, the strong army that cut the Sky Alliance, and the many strong men in the Temple of Time and Space immediately rang a commotion. But soon, the turmoil calmed down and was replaced by a wave of doubt. Besides the Lord of the Heavens and the Lord of Time and Space, the one at the center seems to be Jian Tianhe. It is indeed Jian Tianhe. He has disappeared for nearly 100,000 years. It is said that he went to the universe battlefield, and now it seems that he should be back from the universe battlefield. Why is this sword Tianhe standing with the Lord of Heaven and Space, and the Lord of Time and Space, and actually standing in the middle of the 2? It seems that the Lord of Heaven and Space, and the Lord of Time and Space, are faintly headed by this sword. What does it look like? Chapter 3686. Hey, the second is here. Before the mirror image, countless strong men from the 3 major free alliances, the 4 Protoss, the 6-party Celestial Alliance and Zixumen, Taisheng Wangguang Valley, and dozens of other ancient ancestors were shocked and confused at this moment. In the picture, the 3 of them are indeed with Jianwuxuang standing at the center. The Lord of the Heavens and the Temple of Time and Space are standing on both sides. From their appearance and manners among the 3, it is true that the sword is unparalleled. However, in the impression of these strong men, although Jianwuxuang is a top genius, when he became famous his combat power was also the master level of rules, and he was still far from the top rule masters. Can you sit on the same level as the strong? I even let the 2 majors faintly dominate him? They don't know that today's battle, Jianwuxuang is the absolute first combat force. As for the Lord of the Celestial Alliance and the Lord of Time and Space, although they are both powerful masters, but because they are in the early divine realm and restricted by the heavens, the strength they can exert is at best slightly better than the Lord of the Holy Land. The 2 of them now come with Jianwuxuang, but in fact they are only assisting Jianwuxuang from the side. They really want to defeat and even kill the three masters of the Holy Realm, and the three masters hidden in the three Holy Realms can only be swordsmen. Therefore, Jian Wushuang is qualified to stand in the center. Therefore, they will be dominated by Jian Wushuang. Within the three sacred realms, as the Lord of Time and Space completely imprisoned and blocked the entire space and time of the three sacred realms, the countless practitioners of the three sacred realms were naturally alarmed. Actually, they were shocked. The three major free alliances, the four Protoss, the six-party Celestial Alliance, and the army formed by dozens of ancient forces have rushed from all directions. And this news is now almost known to the entire Triple Sky. Of course it is clear. They also know that they are now on the cusp. But even so, in the three sacred realms, you can't see a little bit of panic and fear. Because the three sacred realms, the strongest three pillars, the three sacred lords are still there. In the eyes of many practitioners in the three sacred realms, their Lord is absolutely invincible in the early world of God. As long as their Lord is still there, no one can do anything about their three holy places. Even if all the forces in the whole early world of God joined together, they would not have any fear. Ha, ha, ha. In the eyes of countless practitioners in the three holy realms, the three sacred masters finally appeared. The bald man in white robe, bathed in the sun, lives and dies the Lord. He wore a purple battle armor, embracing his hands, and the Lord of Flames exuding endless magic. You and the blood-stained woman who exudes a high breath destroys the Lord. The Lord of the three great holy realms also appeared in this heaven and earth. The breath they exude is still so aloof, so high. The power that they show every move is still a way to worship countless practitioners. However, if you look closely, you will find that the three lords of the sacred realm now face a gloomy and dignified eyebrow when facing the three swordsmen. The three of them have long guessed that Jian Wushuang will never let go of their three holy realms, and they have already prepared for the battle with Jian Wushuang. I just didn't expect that Jian Wushuang's handwriting would be so big, and so many forces and strong men were mobilized in one breath, which made it clear that they would uproot their three holy realms without giving them any chance. Jian Tianho, you are here after all. The Lord of the Flames stared at Jian Wushuang, his eyes gloomy. I was on Palau Island at the beginning. It was he who shot Jian Wushuang himself. But unfortunately he did not really kill Jian Wushuang in that battle. When thinking of Jian Wushuang's current strength, the Lord of the Yan often secretly regretted it, and regretted that he failed to do everything to kill Jian Wushuang at the beginning, only to give Jian Wushuang the opportunity to continue to grow until now. Your three sacred realms have stood for so many years in the early kingdom of the gods. It is enough, it should disappear. Jian Wushuang flatly said, Want to destroy my three holy realms at one go? Then you have to see if you have that ability. Destroyed, Lord Lung hummed. Competent, Jian Wushuang dismissed with a smile. Only by now. You are not even qualified to see what you want to see right now. But let the backing behind you come out. The three coming from Demon Star come out. The words of Jian Wushuang fell, and from within the three sacred realms, three figures immediately rose into the sky. Haha, Jian Tianho. The last time you met in the universe battlefield, you were just an ant in front of this seat. If it was not for the Lord of Time and Space, you would have died. And now, knowing that the three people in this seat are here, therefore, you dare to take the initiative to kill it. It is really daring. Among the three masters, the tall man made a loud laugh and echoed around the world. This laughter, which leaked a lot of information, shocked the three holy realms and countless practitioners who watched the war in the surrounding territories. These three are the masters? Yes, they are the masters. In the three holy realms, there are still three masters hidden? How is that possible? Isn't it the only master of the gods in the early days? When did three more come out? It seems that these three people should not be the masters of the world in the beginning, but from the vast universe. But they didn't know why they came here, and they listened to what he said. It has long been known that these three people existed, and they have met each other in the universe battlefield before. Knowing that there are three masters as helpers, but Giantianho still dared to kill them directly, it seems that they should have the means to cope. Jaina's around the quartet, Practitioners from various forces have already discussed it. They were all shocked by the appearance of the three masters, but they were not afraid. After all, they could see that Jian Wushuang already knew the existence of the other three, and dared to take the initiative to kill them. There must be a solution. The three sacred realms camp, after knowing that the three masters and their own helpers suddenly appeared, were overjoyed. Originally, they were already full of blind trust and worship for their three lords. Now they have three more lords to help them, and they are even more confident, and they do indeed even think that the swords in front of them, the Lord of Heaven, and Time and Space, the trio, can threaten them. There is no need to say more nonsense. Today, the three sacred realms will be destroyed. As for the three of you, since they are all from Devil's Star, the dog under the master of Devil's Star, let's die together. Qi Jian Wushuang's voice was cold and rude, and the three masters in front of him had been sentenced to death with the three masters of the Holy Realm. Chapter 3687. The first is here. When the sword was twinless, a metal strike sounded out of thin air. As the sky opened at the beginning of the day, the screaming when it was forcibly torn, the sword sent out by Jian Wushuang has swept across the sky. With that terrifying momentum, he swept across all directions, causing the three sacred masters in front of him to change color. Even the three masters of Demon Star, their gazes are fixed. Jian Tianhou, you are too self-righteous. That boy Yin, he made an old man's voice with a trace of anger, should die. The tall man stepped forward and greeted Jian Wushuang directly. Howl! A dazzling silver light flashed suddenly. The silver claws of the tall man's right hand ripped the space apart like a blade. Under the air tremor, the silver claws struck Xiang Jianshuang's chest like lightning. Seeing the silver claws coming in and killing, Jian Wushuang did not evade, and let the claws tear on him. Howl! The silver sharp claws passed by, leaving a clear sharp claw mark on the surface of Jian Wushuang. But Jian Wushuang's body remained motionless. What? The tall man raised his head in shock. Not long ago, in the Magic Smoke Valley, one of the three major battlefields in the universe, he teamed up with the evil young man to kill Jian Wushuang. At that time, Jian Wushuang was extremely weak in front of him. His random blow could cause great damage to Jian Wushuang. If the Master of Space and Time arrived in time, he could definitely kill Jian Wushuang easily in that battle. However, it is now no more than 3,000 years since that battle, but the current sword is unparalleled, and he can't escape from his attack, leaving his full power to act on his body. But he remains motionless and is not affected by anything. Damage! How can the magnitude of this jump be so huge? Even if Jian Wushuang has broken through and reached the ruler, with the combat power of the master, is it impossible to completely ignore his attack? Your attack is just tickling me. Jian Wushuang looked at the tall man in sarcasm with a sarcastic look. Asshole, if I haven't been too restrictive in this world, I can't show my full strength. Do you think you can resist my blow? The tall man still refused to admit Jian Wushuang's current strength. He didn't know that since the sword Wushuang cultivated into the supreme invincible mystic body, the primary dominance attack like him really couldn't shake him anymore. Even if this tall man is now at his peak strength, just now that one claw, the sword Wushuang will not escape and still can easily take over. I've let you take the shot first, and then you can take my sword. Jian Wushuang said, but did not use his own precious soldiers, but instead used his finger as a sword, and swiped it with one hand. The sword is light and light, but this sword has already moved the origin of the Kendo universe. And it also carries the sword power that is comparable to that of the primary master. Howling. Finger drops. A towering sword shadow cuts out instantly. The tall man suddenly changed his face. Behind him, the evil young man sank fiercely. The tremor of time and space. The power of endless rules of space and time madly squeezed toward the sword unparalleled. And even the sword shadow that he carried out was weakened by the force of time and space. But it was only weakened. The sword shadow did not completely dissipate, but continued to cut to the tall man. Go away! The tall man's claws whistled and forcibly collided with the sword shadow. In the end, the towering sword shadow seemed to look at the huge waves, and his offensive was instantly defeated, and then the mighty sword shadow covered him. Humph! With a groan, the tall man's body suddenly burst out. His face was a little paler than before. I said slowly, but in fact from the tall man's shot and sword Wushuang confrontation, and then the tall man was defeated by Jian Wushuang's sword shadow annihilation. But it was completed in the electric light flint. But this is the flash of light. The collision between Jian Wushuang and this tall man has already separated the victory and defeat. And the victory is very clear. The master of the three sacred camps seems to be repelled. Not only was it repelled, but it was crushed completely by the sword heaven and earth crushed. Yes, it's crushing. I can see very clearly. In the face of the attack of the master, Jian Tianhou did not shy away, but his body was not shaken in the slightest. Instead, the master, Jian Tianhou, just used the finger for the sword technique that is arbitrarily cast. It is an understatement to crush it and crush it. How can this be the case? Isn't that the dominant player? It feels like the identity of the two has been changed. Jian Tianhou is the real master. On the other hand, the master is just an undead saint. The gap between the two is too big. When watching this battle through the mirror image, countless powerful people from all sides are shocking at this moment. They had a lot of doubts about Jian Wushuang's strength before. They didn't understand why Jian Wushuang was qualified to stand between the Lord of the Heavens and the Lord of Time and Space. But now they understand something. Suddenly, over the three sacred realms, Jian Wushuang was easily crushed in front of so many people, and the tall man was extremely ugly. But no matter how ugly, he also has to admit that the gap between his strength and the sword unparalleled is indeed a bit large. It looks like this kid is really not affected by the slightest influence in this world. He can burst out to dominate the power, and the three of us are too limited, and the strength can only be exerted at 1/10 of the heyday. One-on-one we can never be his opponent. The tall man said lowly, "That being the case, then the three of me shot together." The evil charm youth said, "Huh?" Tong Yanhe nodded the old man slightly, and said, "Just use the three of us that have been used to join forces against the enemy." Okay. The tall man nodded with the evil young man. The three of them will be sent here by the Lord of the Clouds, not only because they are the dominant powers themselves, but more importantly, the three of them often take risks together and rush together, and they are very close to each other, and especially good at siege. The three of them even teamed up to besiege a High Master. Although he was finally escaped by the High Master, the High Master almost died in the hands of the three of them. This is an indisputable fact. Now, even though the strength of the three is greatly restricted, their strength can only play 1/10 of the peak period. But if the three of them join forces, with 1/10 of their combat power, they still have confidence and beat a gang master of breakthrough. Chapter 3688. Hey, the second is here. Do it! The three masters from Demon Star moved at the same time. The tall man who had just collided with Jian Wushuang faced his body swiftly and flashed a dazzling silver light. His shape was directly transformed into a 10-foot-tall silver wolf. The silver wolf was silver-white, filled with terrible evil. In a crippled body, the silver Sirius disappeared directly into the void, and when it appeared again, it was already in front of Jian Wushuang. At the moment when the silver wolf was dispatched, the surrounding space and time were completely stagnant. In this stagnant time and space, there were transparent roots, with spears of time and space. With a terrifying puncture force from all directions, Zhao Jinshuang burst out. As for the old man with Tong Yanhe's eyes, his eyes narrowed slightly, and the whole person suddenly turned into a dark fog, like a large dark cloud. This dark cloud filled the world, and with the obstruction of the dark cloud, his body completely disappeared in Jian Wushuang. In the sight, and even the soul. As long as there is a chance, the old man covered in dark clouds will inevitably shoot the old man, giving Jian Wushuang a fatal blow. I have to say that the cooperation of these three people is really perfect. However, no matter how well they cooperate, in the face of absolute strength, everything is empty words. Funny. Wu Jianshou smiled coldly, flipped his hand, and a cold, heart-smelling black Excalibur appeared in his hand. This black divine sword is exactly Huang Quan. As soon as Huang Quan came out, The three masters of Demon Star suddenly changed their looks. Both of them were able to sense the terrible power of this black divine sword for the first time. The strongest treasures. The three of them were shocked. Although they are also the masters, and because they all come from Devil's Star and have a certain background, they also have one of the strongest treasures in the hands of the three. But Jian Wushuang is still only a rule master, and it is obvious that he has just broken through. How long? They can still have a suitable strongest treasure soldier, which of course surprised them. Huang Quan's Excalibur was in hand, and the sword unparalleled waved the sword directly. Everything dissipates. Wu Jianshou gently opened his mouth, and the Huang Quan Excalibur in his hand immediately swept across the void with endless cold light. With this stroke, the void around him was completely cut like a piece of paper, which emerged with the spread of a relentless black sword shadow. Habla! The space is still frantically broken, and the ruthless black sword shadow is destroying everything around it like crazy. Wushuang Sword Code Xingming. Xingming is a sword that was originally cast from close range, tearing the opponent's surface defense instantly and cutting the opponent's body. But now, with absolute power suppression, Jian Wushuang casts directly into the air, while acting on the surrounding void. For a while, the spear of time and space, which burst from all directions, was swept away by this black sword shadow. The dark clouds that filled the surrounding void were completely swept away by the black sword shadow that spread the sky, and the boy Yin Hefa's figure was completely revealed, and even completely locked by the sword. However, no matter whether it is the evil charm young man who casts the spear of time and space, or the child Yin Hefa old man, they all have a certain distance from Jian Wushuang. The sword dream of Jian Wushuang is not mainly towards them. Could that tall man transformed into a silver Sirius? He was baptized by this black horror sword light for the first time. Sun Jingguang struck and killed, and the silver wolf immediately raised his two claws and ruthlessly split out, like two silver lightning bolts. But it turned out Jaina Sen's cold black sword light, as if unobstructed, passed directly through the body of the silver wolf. Silver Sirius dissipated, and the silver light of the sky was completely extinguished. The tall man's figure was revealed, but at the moment, he had his eyes widened and looked at his chest with an incredible disbelief. There, a silver arcana battle armor emerged. This silver arcana battle armor is the peak universe level, and its body protection ability is also extremely powerful. But at this moment, there is a deep white trace on this silver arcana battle armor. At the deepest part of the white trace, there was a hint of blood. This blood color shows that his peak arcana battle gear has been cut a gap. He is precisely this gap, which directly penetrates his divine body, and has divided his divine body into two. With just one sword, I can tear a crack in my pinnacle treasure armor and penetrate my body. How is this possible? The tall man's face was incredible. God's body was penetrated, and the divine power in his body was also annihilated madly. At the first time, nearly 30% of the divine power was wasted. This undoubtedly made him even more frightened. The evil young man next to him, and the old man Yen Tong Hefa, also noticed that the state of this tall man has changed greatly. Yes, if the peak time, the three of them can work together to confront the higher master. Even if it is suppressed by the heavens, the strength can only play 1/10, but the three can work together to counter the general primary domination. But now, Jian Wushuang's strength revealed at this moment is obviously not just the primary dominating level. One sword will tear the tall man's pinnacle treasure armor. Although the sword warrior itself uses the strongest sword of the treasure god. But with a good weapon, it also needs to be strong enough to be able to rip the pinnacle treasure armor. Jian Wushuang can do this. At least it shows that his current strength will never be weaker than the High Master. A High Master with the strongest magic sword, depending on the current status of the three of them, that can't be countered. Ha! The ghostly body flickered, and Jian Wushuang shot again. This time he appeared directly in front of the tall man. The black Excalibur in his hand was a strange thorn, like a meteor phantom, directly stabbed at the tall one. In the chest, a terrible strangling force suddenly erupted. Seventh order extinction, sword is rainbow. With the speed of terror and the penetration of terror, this tall man couldn't resist it. Ha! The icy sword edge followed the gap between the tall man's and Bao's armor almost instantly and entered the tall man's body. A terror-strangling force suddenly broke out. The entire body of the tall man was distorted. His divine power was completely hanged by the sword, and his voice began to dissipate. I didn't expect that I would die here. The tall man still had an incredible face. He stared at Jian Wushuang hard, and his eyes were deep with unprecedented fear. Buzz! The tall man's body collapsed, and his consciousness was completely cut off, leaving only his emperor's treasure and armor on the surface. The three masters of the demon cloud star, the first one, have been beheaded by Jian Wushuang Thunder. Chapter 3689. One more today. Too fast. The tall man didn't have time to respond at all, and he had already died under the sword of Wushuang. However, this scene also changed the appearance of the evil young man and the boy Yin Hafa. Not to mention the ability to fight positively, the tall man is the strongest among the three of them. As a result, there is no room for struggle before the sword has two sides. At this moment, the two masters, both of them, appeared with unprecedented terror. Escape! The Tong Yinha made a roar of the old man, and then turned around and fled. The death of the tall man was too exciting for him. Although he received the order of the Lord of the Clouds and came to this territory, he also ordered the Lord of the Clouds to keep the three holy domains comprehensive. But this does not mean that he will be the three holy. The domain is desperate. He is dominated. He values his life very much. What's more, in this battle, the strength shown by the opponent was not something he could compete with. As soon as the old boy fled, the evil young man naturally fled immediately. Can you escape? Jian Wu's eyes were cold. Time and space. Leave it to me. The Lord of Time and Space said aloud, and then saw the power of the majestic rules of strength to cover the old man Yin Hafa and the evil young man Crazy. The power of this rule is immense, which places great restrictions on Tong Yanhe's old man and the evil young man. Although the evil young man also resisted the power of the rules of space and time for the first time, in the contention with the master of time and space for the rules of time and space, it is obvious that the master of time and space has the absolute upper hand. How can this be? How did the master of space and time use the rules of space and time be so good? The demonic young man was amazed. The Lord of Time and Space Hall laughed. Haha, your use of the power of the rules of time and space is slightly worse than that of the old man. But now it is in the early world of God. The old man used this time and space. Understand that even under the repression of heaven, you know the power to mobilize the strongest rules. How do you fight the old husband in this situation? The laughter of the Lord of Time and Space Hall echoed through the void. His laughter made the evil young man pale, because he had noticed that Jian Wushuang's figure had been chasing him. If he is at its peak, and there is no time and space suppression by the Lord of Time and Space, he has the confidence to escape from the sword without hands. But now his strength is completely underestimated, and he is oppressed by great time and space. Jian Wushuang caught up. Then sword Wushuang Thunder shot. I just counted the swords, and when the front was killed, the evil young man immediately died in the hands of Jian Wushuang. The last one left. Qi Jian Wu's eyes exploded with a terrifying killing intention, and his eyes had locked on the old boy Yin Hafa, who was not far from the void. Because he was just hunting down the evil young man, the old man Yin Hafa had fled a certain distance, but this distance was still under the pressure of the Lord of Time and Space. Ha! Yin Jian Wushuang's strongest speed broke out directly, but it took only a moment of effort to catch up with the old boy Yin Hafa. Jian Tianho, don't bully me too much. Yin Hafa looked at the old man with a cold face, and his eyes were extremely cold, staring at the sword Wushuang who appeared in front of him. Too much bullying? Jian Wu's eyes were slightly stunned. One after another he beheaded and killed the tall man and the evil young man. Naturally, he could easily kill the old boy Yin Hafa, but the latter now dares to say such obviously threatening words. This made Jian Wushuang feel a bit wrong. Is it? When sword Wushuang looked, there was a cold smile on his face. It seems that the Lord of the Clouds has not only sent you 3 masters to this territory, but also handed over that special treasure. Is it for you? That special treasure is now in your hands? Tong Tong Yin Hafa, the old man looked somber and did not speak. Yi Jianwushwang is right. He does have a big whole card in his hand, which is the special treasure entrusted to him by the Lord of the Clouds, which is extremely restrained from special life and possesses extraordinary power. At the time of World War I, when Xuanyi was beheaded, the special treasure played a big role. However, the one who killed Xuanyi at first was the Lord of the Clouds, who controlled the treasure himself. But the treasure was in his hands, but he could not exert the strongest power. If there was no limit to his strength in the universe, he could barely exert the power of that treasure. But now, it is in the early world of God. His strength is limited to only 1/10. In this case, although he can use the treasure, the price is too great. He can't bear it. Therefore, in this early world of God, there was less than a last resort. He didn't want to use the strongest treasure. But to this day, if Jian Wuxuang continues to be aggressive, then he has no choice. Jiantianho, you just want to destroy these 3 holy realms. Just kill the 3 holy masters. There is no need to kill the old husband. Otherwise, the old husband is really anxious. Don't worry about it. Tong Yinha shouted the old man in a deep voice. After hearing this, Jian Wu's eyes narrowed slightly, but then you sneered. You are too self-righteous. If you don't have the treasure in your hand, it's okay. As long as you are willing to ask for mercy, I can spare your life. But since you with that treasure in your hand, you're even more. Wu Jianso did not hesitate at all. He really didn't kill the old man Yin Tonghafa. He only wanted to kill the other person, because he was from Devil Star before www.novel. But now, since the other person mentioned that special treasure, Jian Wuxuang will have to kill him. Because of this special treasure in the hands of the old man Yin Hafa, he is very interested. That treasure has a great restraint effect on special life. This is a nemesis. For that matter, he must destroy that treasure. Even if its can't be destroyed. You can't let this boy Yin he send the old man back and return to Devil Star. Let's die. Wu Jianshuang was too lazy to make old man nonsense with this child Yin he. His figure flickered. He had been killed directly, and a shocking sword intention swept up instantly. Jian Tianho, this is your own death. Tong Tong Yin he made the old man crazy. Watching Jian Wuxuang kill, his eyes became scarlet. Buzz. A special wave of waves passed out abruptly. The old Yin Yinfa with a special black spear exuding a special flavor came from the old man. This black spear was the spear that killed Xuanyi in the first place. Chapter 3690. The first is here. Buzz. A heavy black magic power escaped from the black spear. This black divine power is full of destruction and domineering. With the infusion of the old man's divine power by the child Yin Hafa, the black divine power suddenly soared, and it was like a dark sky in the blink of an eye, and the black spear directly turned into one. The dark beams that destroyed the sky burst directly into the sword unparalleled. At the moment of the burst, the endless black divine power condensed frantically and turned into a wicked human face. This human face has only a rough outline, but it is still full of absolute majesty, especially the deep and strange eyes and pupils, but also has a kind of disregard for the world. Above all others, this indifferent eyes, already staring towards the sword unparalleled. The cohesion of this human face made the sword's double-sided color change suddenly. Especially stared at that face, Jian Wuxuang only felt his body tremble violently, and immediately felt an unprecedented astonishment in his heart. This sense of surprise comes from his own level of life. This sense of surprise was as if he had met his nemesis. This feeling. The sword has no double-sided gloom. Which face is this face? Is it the Lord of the Devil Star or someone else? Wu Jianshuang did not know the origin of this face, only that this face was formed by the condensed force of that spear. There is no doubt that the spear did have a lot of restraint on his level of life. Yin Jian Wuxuang could not think too much, because the dark beam of dark spear had already appeared in front of him. In the face of the old boy Yin Hafa, Jian Wuxuang could not keep his heart in mind, But in front of the black spear that had once beheaded his master, Jian Wushuang did not dare to have the slightest bite. For a moment, the magical power of life and the sky-cutting technique began to unfold. The magical power of Wu Jian's unparalleled power immediately climbed to a level that was barely comparable to that of higher masters. Starburst Day! Qi Jian Wushuang screamed sharply, and Huangquan's magic sword flashed a magical swordmang. Crackling, the sound of the bursting of the void suddenly sounded. I saw an extremely fast, as if it could burn all the terrible sword light of heaven and earth, with shocking power, hit the black beam of the spear forward, and in a blink of an eye, the two confronted together. The frontal collision of the two terrorist attacks did not erupt the terrible roar of imagination. Some were just the squeezing sound caused by the impact of the crazy collision of divine power. In this collision, Jian Wushuang's inner sense of astonishment, it is even more intense. At the same time, there was a special power faintly eroding in the black beam. The sword has no two-sided dignity, and the strength in his hand has also been strengthened. Two terrible mighty shocks frantically, but suddenly, the sword has no eyes. The power contained in this spear has been weakened by about 70% by my swordsmanship, and the rest should be only about 30%. Jian Wushuang murmured, but at the bottom of his heart he had made a bold, even incomparable crazy decision. I saw Jian Wu's eyes fixed, and Jian Guang, which was originally able to contend with the dark beam of light, broke up without any sign. The reason why Sun collapsed was not because the sword Guangwei was completely exhausted, but because the sword Wushuang deliberately controlled and recovered its power. Without the obstruction of Jian Guang, the dark beam naturally strikes at Jian Wushuang. In the blink of an eye, he had reached Jian Wushuang. At this moment, Jian Wushuang didn't have any intention to evade. He just tried his best to evoke the power of the blood demon cavern, and obviously wanted to forcibly resist the impact of this spear. This spear, I have to personally teach it to see how special it is, and how restrained it is for a special life like me. There was a flash of madness in Jian Wushuang's eyes. He knew very well that this spear was extremely important to him, and to the Lord of the Clouds. Even the Lord of the Clouds can kill him completely only with this spear. Because of this, he wanted to truly appreciate the power of this spear. Therefore, he deliberately dissipated his sword light, and left the spear with 30% power to stab him at his deity. Ha! Suddenly, the dark spear exuding a strange smell hit the swordless pair of chests, and for the first time, he was hindered by the blood demon cave sky armor. After all, it is the highest peak treasure, and it is still the best. The dark spear that has only 30% of its power has not been able to penetrate the blood fiend cave armor directly, but from the dark spear, it has a very special power. Completely ignored the blood demon cave Tianjia. The first time they broke into the sword Wushuang body. Rumble. Wu Jianshou only felt the mad roar in his body, and a lot of his divine power began to perish under the impact of that strange power. However, in a blink of an eye, my divine power has been annihilated by more than 10%, and the special force is still impacting. So terrible, so special power. There was a flash of horror in Wu Jian's eyes, and he mobilized all his divine power to counterattack that special power. After 3 breaths, Jian Wushuang's body calmed down again. But at this moment, he has less than 80% of his divine power. In other words, the special force that just poured into his body from the black spear, in such a short period of time, annihilated more than 20% of his power. You must know, as a special life, after becoming the ruler of the rule, the divine power is vast, and now he is even the first to bear the full strength of the Tianping master, who has reached the top master level. He only lost 1% of his power. But now, the special force poured into this black spear has actually killed more than 20% of his power. What is this concept? This is still the Lord of the Demon Star in front of him. In the early days of the gods, he couldn't show his peak strength. If he can show his peak strength, then this blow will definitely hurt me more. Become a stronger, more horrible demon lord. Master this spear personally, and the result. Jian Wushuang thought of this, and could not help but take a breath of air. He finally understood that his master's strength was so clear and his methods were so clever. why he would still die in the hands of the Lord of the Devil Stars. This is not only because the demon star is stronger, but the most important thing is that it comes from this special spear. The special power contained in this spear is really terrible. The threat to a special life is too great. With such a spear, he must not let it fall into the hands of the Lord of the Clouds again. Chapter 3691. Hey, the second is here. The situation on the battlefield changed suddenly. After Jian Wushuang slayed and killed the tall man and the evil young man in succession, almost everyone thought that Jian Wushuang should also be able to easily kill the old man with Tong Yan Hifa, but did not expect that the old man with Tong Yan Hifa took it. He showed his whole cards and hit Jian Wushuang in the front. When the weird black spear stabbed Jian Wushuang and weakened the breath of Jian Wushuang, everyone was surprised. But it was just a surprise, because although Jian Wushuang lost a lot of divine power, his combat power was still abundant, and he soon shot again. On the other hand, the child Yan Hefa, the old man, is forcibly triggering the power of the black spear. Although the triggering has also caused some damage to Jian Wushuang, he himself has paid a huge price for himself. It has been lost more than 70%, and even in terms of soul, it has suffered a fierce backlash. Now he has been hit hard, and his combat power is running low. I saw Jian Wushuang attack again. This old man Yin Tongfa was incredible. He didn't expect that he would trigger the black spear without any thought, but still failed to cause much damage to Jian Wushuang. He followed and he showed despair. He knew that his current state, and then facing Jian Wushuang, would be dead. Sure enough, Jian Wushuang came directly to his side and slashed him at will. Since then, all three of the dominating powerhouses who deliberately came from Demon Star have died. The three of them died under the sword of Wushuang. After Sun beheaded the three masters, Jian Wushuang's cold eyes immediately swept away towards the three sacred masters. The lord of the three great sacred realms, now pale and pale, no trace of blood. They looked up at Jian Wushuang, and their hearts were full of despair. It's you. Wu Jian Wushuang held the Huangquan Excalibur and walked step by step towards the lord of these three holy realms. The heart of these three holy realms is as dead as death, and there is no thought of wanting to resist. Even if they want to resist, they are useless. In the final analysis, they are only the rulers. Even if they have the blessing of the will of heaven, they still cannot compare with the master. Dominate. The three master swords Wushuang can be easily beheaded, and it is even easier to behead it. Jiantianhe, this time you won. I knew that you should kill you at all costs. I didn't expect that the three of me would actually die in your hands in the end. Ridiculous, really ridiculous. Jiantianhe, don't be too happy. The master will get revenge in his body. It will. The three lords of the Holy Realm spoke the last words respectively, and then were directly killed by Jian Wushuang. This scene caused countless practitioners from the three sacred realms below to be completely wiped out. Eyes widened their eyes, watching the scene above incredibly. Master, they are dead. How is this possible? No, it is impossible. Lord is so powerful. It represents the will of heaven. They are absolutely invincible in the early world of God. And no one can kill them. Impossible. Fake, this must be illusion. Yes, it must be illusion. Damn, why haven't I woke up from this illusion? A hysterical roar sounded from all corners of the three holy realms. Even if they saw the Lord of the three holy realms beheaded, those in the three holy realms who blindly worshipped the Lord of the three holy realms still did not want to believe that all this was true, and thought it was just that he was caught in a fantasy, and he saw only the scenes in fantasy. Even the rulers of the three sacred realms, they are equally unbelievable about all this. The three masters died, and they would not care. After all, the three masters suddenly appeared. They were not deeply imprinted in their hearts, and did not make them feel invincible. Of course, no matter how incredible they are, the Lord of the three holy realms is dead, but this is a fact. After slaying the Lord of these three holy realms, Jian Wu's eyes turned, but he looked directly at the void. I was there, without the presence of any figure. Some were just a black spear hovering quietly. This black spear has been quietly suspended in the void after the old man Yan Hefa made his hair. Even though the old man Yin Tong Hefa died, this black spear is still out of control, but still exudes weirdness breath. Before the sword Wushuang beheaded Tong Yan Hefa, the old man did not pay attention to this spear for the first time. Until now, the Lord of the Three Sacred Realms was also killed by him. Look at this spear. This spear must be destroyed. The sharp sword flashed in Wu Jian's eyes. He held up the Huangquan Excalibur in his hand, and a strong breath of divine power broke out. Howl! Take a majestic sword and chop directly at your suspended black spear, trying to split the spear in half. However, Jian Guang fell on the black spear. Although the black spear flew far away, let alone the crack on the surface of the spear, not even the slightest mark left by the sword shadow. This scene made Jian Wu's eyes and pupils shrink, but he was not surprised. This spear is extremely powerful and strange, with incredible value, absolutely the most precious treasure. And how can such a treasure be destroyed casually? It's like the strongest cosmic treasure, even if it is placed in front of the sword. There is no way he can destroy the sword, and he can't destroy it now. Even higher. I can't destroy it. I want to suppress it. And I don't have the same level of repression as the treasure. It seems that I can only find a way to stay with me. Jian Wushuang groaned for a moment, and then made a decision. Unless forced to do so, he would never want to keep this spear beside him, because this spear threatens him too much, and has an impact on his life level all the time. If he keeps the spear beside him, the impact will never be cut off, which will make him very uncomfortable. But unfortunately he has no choice but to keep the spear beside him. However, just when Jian Wushuang reached out and wanted to take the spear for his own time, boom, with a transcendent power, suddenly came. The treasures of this seat can also be touched? A cold drinking sound also echoed suddenly in this world. No surprises, 3 changes tomorrow make up the chapter owed yesterday. Chapter 3692. The first is here. This cold drink, with an unquestionable will, exploded in the sky. The moment the snoring sounded, the earth and ground shook. From the uppermost void, a teal giant hand suddenly extended out, grabbing at the black spear. The shot of this cyan giant hand made everyone's eyes and pupils shrink sharply. No matter who it is, you can feel the transcendent power from this cyan giant hand at this moment. That power does not come from the practitioner, but from the underworld. Heaven. Heavenly will power. Does the will of heaven come? No, Tiandao will is just the will. The power of Tiandao can be extremely limited, and at most it can threaten some rulers. But now how does this giant hand of Tiandao will be so powerful? Looking at the sudden emergence of the cyan giant, many people present have shown a sense of panic, including some masters with extremely powerful rules. The power of this cyan giant is really too strong. At least it is much stronger than the main rules. Not surprisingly, the power contained in this giant hand has reached the level of dominance. But when will the heavenly will of the world be mobilized at the beginning? Unless, rumbling, the earth shuddered madly, and Jian Wushuang faintly felt that at the moment when the blue giant hand extended, the void of the world in the beginning also had a certain effect. It seems to be desperate. Jian Wu's pupils narrowed. He knows that under normal circumstances, in order to maintain the normal operation and evolution of the divine realm in the early days, the will of the heavens does not use too powerful power. At most, as before, he chooses 3 rulers who are not weak as his own spokesperson, and because of the blessing of heavenly will, these 3 can erupt far more powerfully than the ruler. This is the 3 lords of the holy realm. But this is only normal. Now it is clearly abnormal. The 3 lords of the holy realm are dead, and the black spear is about to fall into the sword without hands. How is the Lord of the Clouds not in a hurry? So the Lord of the Clouds directly moves the heavenly ways of the early gods in desperation. The power of will, which caused the advent of the cyan giant hand. Don't look at the blue giant hand coming. But at this moment, the impact on the world in the beginning is very great. For the Lord of the Clouds, the cost is also very great. Think that you can take back this spear? Wu Jianshou smiled indifferently. When the blue giant hand came down and was about to grab the black spear, he made a stride and stepped out. After Sun stepped out, a shocking might of power burst out from him. The magical power of life and the sky-cutting technique are performed at the same time. At the same time, because of refining the chaotic world of ancient times, he was favored by the laws of the universe, which provided many benefits. One of them is a mighty willpower. This willpower, since the sword Wushuang obtained, has not been used. But now, this willpower is directly integrated into the sword art of sword unparalleled. The strong is terrible, the sun is burning. Wu Jianshou shot with all his strength. A sword light containing explosive power swept out suddenly. The sword light was so huge that it covered half of the world, and immediately greeted the blue giant hand. It's awkward. The sound of a blade passing over the human body sounds. The blue giant hand was cut straight by the sword light from the middle. The whole giant hand was cut in half, and a lot of majestic heavenly powers ran away frantically toward the surroundings. Power of the law of the universe? How is this possible? An incredible sound echoed in the deepest part of the world. The Lord of the Demon Clouds is very clear that he is desperate to dispose of all the mighty powers of the heavenly will. He is absolutely arrogant even though Jian Wushuang is now powerful enough, but he is still confident that he can counteract or even suppress it. The giant hand that Tianed away can form is actually cut open? The majestic power of the sword just now, and the special power contained in the sword, completely shocked the Lord of the Clouds. He knew that power had surpassed most of the higher masters, and the extraordinary power contained in the sword, but the supreme power, the power of the law of the universe, the cosmic law that is so high above him, even if the swordsmanship only contains a trace of the law of the universe, it can make his swordplay extremely terrifying. It seems that the law of the universe came, and it really gave you a lot of good things. That mighty voice sounded again. Jian Wushuang sneered. But just then. Okay. Jian Wu's eyes narrowed sharply, because he had noticed that while he was using his sword to cut the blue giant hand in two, a strange figure appeared next to the black spear. And when I put the black spear into the ring, after I finished all this, the figure did not leave immediately, but stood there, looking at himself very calmly. This person. Wu Jianshou looked at this man with his eyes fixed. This is an extremely beautiful woman. Her temperament is cold, and she has never been involved in any emotions. She looks into her eyes with a strange smile. It's you Xinglua dominates. Jian Wushuang's voice was cold. He has recognized it in the future in the last world. In the chaotic world of ancient times, he had dealt with the master of the star Luo. Naturally clear. The person in front of him is obviously dominated by Xinglua, no matter it looks or breaths. The only difference is that when Xinglua dominated the eternal chaotic world, it was only a consciousness clone, but now it is her deity. She also has the power to dominate the level. Jian Wushuang. I really didn't expect this seat. In such a short time, you can reach this step, and it is not only the three lords of the Holy Land in the early divine realm, but even the one from the magic cloud star, the three masters would all die in your hands? The master of Xinglua stared at Jian Wushuang. Since you know that the lord of the three sacred realms and the three lords of the demon star died in my hands, how dare you even appear in front of me? And you dare to grab my things, it is not courageous. Jian Wushuang's voice was cold, and his eyes were astonishing. Haha, the sword is unparalleled. You may be too underestimated. Although they are all masters, this seat is not as useless as that waste. In this primitive world, this seat can't help you. But this seat wants if you leave, you won't be able to keep me. After speaking, the main figure of Xinglua shook and disappeared in front of Jian Wushuang. Chapter 3693. Hey, the second is here. Before Xingluo's dominance disappeared, Jian Wushuang's soul power had locked her. As soon as Xingluo's dominance disappeared, Jian Wushuang found that his soul's power had no target, and no matter how his soul's power swept the surroundings, he could no longer find the trace of Xingluo's dominance. Time and space, you may sense her presence? Jian Wushuang asked immediately. Now this world is still within the time and space imprisonment of the Lord of Time and Space. It is logical that everything in this space and time is within the sensing range of the Lord of Time and Space. But after hearing the words of Jian Wushuang, the Lord of Time and Space frowned. No, I can't sense her presence. It is most likely that she has practiced some special mysteries, or has any special treasure in her body. In short, it can't be sensed. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang's complexion became extremely ugly. Jian Wushuang, I said, am leaving, you can't keep me, goodbye. I hope you will be alive when you next meet. The voice of Xingluo's dominion sounded again, and it was slowly going away, but the sound was indeed transmitted from all directions at the same time. Even if it was going away slowly, Jian Wushuang still could not tell the voice of Xingluo's dominance by sound. Position. Hate. Jian Wushuang could not help cursing, and his heart was extremely angry. He was annoyed, not only because the Star Lord dominated the spear, leaving him a great threat in the future. The most important thing is that Xingluo's master is the master, who is as cold as snow. Only she knows the traces as cold as snow. I thought the Star Luo dominated him, and he could seize or suppress her, and then force her to say where the cold snow is, but now he can only watch the other person leave, which makes him not angry. After the departure of Xingluo, Jian Tianhou, you are very good. This seat remembers you. It will not be long before this seat of the seat will come here in person. At that time, this seat will make you the same as your master Xian in pain, with despair gradually die. Ha ha ha. With a bit of crazy laughter in this world constantly echoed, but finally dissipated slowly. The sword was cold on both sides. He looked down at the ground under his feet, but his right hand was slowly raised. 3 sacred realms, one who does not stay kill me. With the order of Jian Wushuang, in the 4 directions around the 3 sacred realms, except for the 4 Protoss led by Shower, and the Quartet Tianzong Alliance army, the Saints' army in the other 3 directions, and the rulers of the rule were all launched. I saw a large number of strong men killed from different directions towards the 3 sacred realms. The shouting and killing sound was soaring into the sky. Only a moment later, these 3 big sanctuaries were drowned in a frenzied killing. And this killing, the situation is completely one-sided. The strengths of the 3 sacred realms are very strong, and their heritage is very deep. But no matter how strong they are, the gap is still too large in the face of nearly 90% of high-level powers in the whole early divine realm. Not to mention, the 3 sacred realms rely heavily on the gods in the hearts of countless practitioners of the 3 sacred realms. The 3 sacred lords have already died, and they are still in the presence of the countless strong in these 3 sacred realms. Jian Wushuang easily beheaded. The death of the lord of these 3 holy realms is too much stimulation for the practitioners of the 3 holy realms. This also makes them instantly lose their backbone and completely lose their fighting spirit. In the face of the army killed by all parties, it is almost difficult to prevent effective resistance and counterattack, and ultimately it is natural to be slaughtered. The slaughter, this war is exactly a one-sided slaughter. Of course, in this slaughter, Jian Wushuang will naturally not take the shot himself. After slaying the 3 sacred lords and giving orders to destroy the 3 sacred realms, he returned to the 7-star Xuanzong and the vanity of the ancient chaos world with the slaying ancestor and the master of time and space. As for the fierce battle that followed, he just looked indifferently from beginning to end. He is not only him, but also the many powerful men of Qixing Xuanzong, as well as everyone from the chaotic world of all ages. The strong men of the 7-star Xuanzong, seeing the scenes in the front picture, all showed excitement. As for the people in the chaotic world of ancient times, they are all pale. For these practitioners in the chaotic world of ancient times, this scene in front of them is really shocking. Countless strong men are killing wildly. Any of these strong men is incredible in their opinion. But such strong men who participated in this exhibition have reached the level of 1 million. This kind of horrible and unbelievable war, they had never before thought about it. Now they saw it in person, and it happened to them. What's more, they had just reached the early world of the gods and saw the war, which shocked them even more in words. In addition, through this battle, they also clearly realized what kind of world the Taizhou world was. Here there are not only countless strong men, but also endless killings. Here the chaotic world is too crazy and cruel. He is as cruel as the battle in front of him. Too cruel. These 3 sacred realms are abominable and should be destroyed. But many practitioners in the 3 sacred realms are actually innocent. Especially many of them are children who have not experienced too many storms, but now they are going to be killed together. Few people can survive. Wu Ji frowned, seeing the scene in the picture, frowning obviously. Jian Nantian, who was next to him, was a little calmer. And when I heard Ji Wuming's words, Jian Wushuang hadn't spoken yet, but Xian Yin of the 7-star Xuanzong camp directly said, "Is this cruel? When I was 7, Qi Xuanzong was destroyed. Wasn't it the same? After that heavy circle, do you think there will be a living mouth of my 7-star Xuanzong? Don't talk about my 7-star Xuanzong. Even the entire 7-star divine realm may not have a living person. As for the eternal chaotic world formed in the future, it is simply a joke and cannot exist anymore. This is the early world of the gods, but it is not the chaotic world where you stayed before. Here you are more observant of the laws of the jungle than the world you are in. Weak and strong, strong and respectful. At the time, my 7-star Xuanzong was not strong enough, and almost lost everything. The same result today, but the target is these 3 sanctuaries." Xian Xinyan looked indifferent. The powerful men of the 7-star Xuanzong also have the same look. There is no sympathy for those who are madly slaughtered in the 3 holy realms. Some even have a trace of pleasure, which comes from their revenge. Chapter 3694. Hey, the third is here. Wu Zuanyan's words shocked everyone from the chaotic world of ancient times. Wu Jia's dreamless brow deepened. Mother, this is indeed the case in the early days. There can be no mercy here, especially to the enemy. Jian Wushuang also said, if today I wait for the net to open up, let these practitioners in the 3 holy realms leave. And the following year these people will not hesitate to show me their claws. Whenever they have a chance, they will stab us hard in the back. Mother, you have just arrived in the early world of the gods, and don't know much about everything here. But after a long time, you can slowly get used to it. Wu Ji nodded without a dream, and didn't say more. 2 days and 3 nights. The battle in the 3 sacred realms lasted for 2 days and 3 nights. This is also normal. After all, the 3 sacred realms are too large, and there are too many practitioners. Even if all the coalition forces of all parties take the shot, it will take some time to kill all the practitioners in the 3 sacred realms. For 2 days and 3 nights, it was still in the situation that the top powers of all parties took the shots themselves. After the end of the war, the 3 holy realms of endless years in the kingdom of God in the early days, and with the blessing of heavenly will were finally completely destroyed. The crickets are annihilated, and there are almost no missing fish. As for the countless resources and treasures left in the 3 sacred realms, a few have been taken away in the process of killing, but most of them are gathered together, and then distributed together. Humming. Thousands of people stood in the vast void. The strong army from various forces, still staying in this void, and no one left. In the center of this void, a throne formed by divine power stands there. These thrones all have silhouettes exuding a strong breath. These silhouettes are from the forces of all parties participating in this war. In power, or at the highest level, suddenly in front of these people, the 5 towering thrones were quietly suspended there. The 5 throne positions are obviously higher than those of other thrones. But none of the people present at this scene dare to have a slight opinion. Because the 5 people on the throne now can be said to be the strongest and most powerful people in the early world of God. These 5 people are Jian Wushuang Xian Shinto, Kut the Alliance Leader, the Master of Time and Space, and the Heavenly Ancestor. With the exception of Jian Wushuang, the other 4 are all masters. Although Jian Wushuang is not the master, but the combat power is above the master, and he is the absolute master in this battle. That is, he is killed by himself, killed the 3 lords of the Holy Realm, and the 3 lords who came from the magic cloud star. So he was sitting at the center of the 5. As for Xian Yan, although he is also the master, he is from Qixing Xuanzong. Qixing Xuanzong now has Xian God there, so he doesn't need to show up. Xian Shen Tianzu, how is the Xinggong side? Jian Wushuang asked. While in the early days, the strengths of various parties in the realm of the gods shot at the three sacred realms. On the universe battlefield, the mysterious gods and the ancestors led the Star Palace and shot at the Holy Island. Now the three sacred realms have been destroyed, and there should be results on the sacred island. It's over, the Holy Island has been destroyed. During the period, hundreds of rulers, more than 8 Chengdu, were beheaded. Although there are some fish that leak the net, it is harmless. Xian Shinto Man laughed. The deities of Him and Tianzu are still on the Holy Island. As for the arrival here now, it is just the incarnation of consciousness. That's good. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. This time, in the early days, the realm of the gods shot at the same time as the universe battlefield, and the final results achieved can be considered relatively satisfactory. The only thing I regret is probably the Black Spear. He didn't destroy it or get it. After this battle, the three sacred realms can be said to be completely destroyed, and then, how to divide the battle results. Jian Wushuang magnificently said. As soon as his words came out, the power holders and the highest level from all sides present became very energetic. The reason why they left without destroying the three sacred realms is to divide up the battle results. After all, it was the three holy realms of the overlords in the early divine world. There are not only countless resources and treasures in the three sacred realms, but also the territories, the secret world, and all kinds of things that they master. There are countless, especially the territory where the three sacred realms are located. This is Mia Tian cultivates the most superior territory of illusion. Who doesn't wink? Master Jian Tianho. A figure stood up from below. This person is one of the 6-party heavenly ancestors who participated in this battle, the Lord of Bloodfire Heavenly Sect. As one of the lords of the heavenly sect, and also the top power in the early divine realm, he once regarded Jian Wushuang as a little guy, but now he has experienced this battle in person, and the strength revealed by Jian Wushuang has made all the strong men to it convinced. The Bloodlord is naturally no exception. So now when this Blood and Fire Lord is facing Jian Wushuang, he is very respectful, and his title has naturally become an adult. Master Jiantianho. This time there are too many forces to participate in the destruction of the three sacred realms. Although it seems that the results of this time are great, it is not easy to distribute them. So I do not know what the adults intend to do. How to distribute the results of this battle. The Bloodfire Lord carefully looked at Jian Wushuang. It's very simple. It's distributed according to the situation of the forces of the parties in this war. The stronger the force of which party is in the battle, the more the contribution, the more results will be obtained. First of all, this battle was my first shot to kill. The 3 masters invited by the 3 sacred realms, and the 3 lords of the sacred realm, have basically lost their ability to resist, so the results of this war I want 30%. Yan Jian Wushuang said very directly, without any corners. If he were alone, he would have a 30% victory. As soon as he said this, most people on the field nodded secretly without any opinion. This is normal because the most important thing in this battle is the 3 lords of the Holy Realm, and the 3 lords from the Magic Cloud Star. If the 3 lords of the Holy Realm are still alive, this war is simply impossible. UCANT fight. It was precisely because Jian Wushuang killed them that this led to the destruction of the 3 holy realms. Chapter 3695. The first is here. These people think that this is normal. After all, the so-called battle results are mainly those resource treasures left by the 3 sacred realms. The 3 sacred realms dominated the divine realm for so long, and they have accumulated too many resources and treasures. 23% of resources. Enough for a long time for large-scale forces to squander. There is only one lonely widow in Wujian. What do you need so many resources for? They don't know that these resources, Jian Wushuang himself, do not need them, but the people around him can use them. First, it is Qixing Xuanzong. Qixing Xuanzong experienced the original war and lost all the details. Although he now has the opportunity to rise again, in addition to the need for a certain strong man, naturally also needs a lot of resources. So 30% of the resources that Jian Wushuang wants, of which 10% must be to the 7-star Xuanzong. With this resource, I can easily rise again with the strength of the remaining strong in Qixing Xuanzong. As for the other 20% of resources, Jian Wushuang was prepared for many practitioners in the chaotic world of ancient times. The eternal chaos world is still too far away from the pre-God world. Those practitioners definitely need a place to stay when they come to the pre-God world from the chaos world. Powers. These resources are used for the operation of that power. Although one person will have a 30% victory against Jian Wushuang, there are some people who are dissatisfied, but no one dares to speak more. Seeing this, Jian Wushuang reopened the remaining 70% of the battle results, including the Cut Heaven Alliance, Time and Space Temple, Tianzu Daojin, and the 4 major Protoss contributed the most, each accounting for 10%. As for the remaining 30%, the 6-party Tianzong who participated in this battle, as well as more than 10 major forces, such as Zixumen and Taixing Wangguang Valley, were evenly distributed. I don't know who is opposed to this distribution. Wu Jinshuang did not say who had different opinions, but directly said who opposed it. The meaning of this was very clear. That means that he has already decided on this allocation, and will not change it. For all the forces present, it is fair to say that the distribution of Jian Wushuang is fair. Even if there are a few dissatisfied, at this moment, they will never dare to speak against it. After all, in the face of so many people, this is the face of the swords. Who dares to do this? He Jian has no two-sided indifference. After overlooking for a long time, after seeing no one to retort, he said, "Since there is no objection, the resources and treasures of the 3 sacred areas obtained this time are allocated in this way. In addition to these resources and treasures, there is one more thing, which is about the territories controlled by the 3 holy realms, and the territory." The power leaders, or the highest level of all parties present, immediately rallied. For them, the biggest results of this war are actually not the resources and treasures left by the 3 sacred realms, but the territories and sites. The 3 great sacred realms have been dominated by the divine realm for too long, and the territory under their control has always been the best of the divine realm. Especially the old nests of the 3 holy realms are the void where they are now. Here it is the core of the triple sky, although it has just encountered a fierce battle here. The war is only to destroy the various construction law formations in this territory, but it will not affect the practice environment in this territory too much. This is still the best territory in the early days of the world's cultivation environment. Such a territory will naturally have an extremely great effect on practitioners. Imagine if there were any forces or sects who could occupy this territory as their own nest. After that, your disciples' cultivation speed will definitely be faster than elsewhere, and the chance of a strong one will naturally be higher. Because of this, they care about these territories. With the expectation of everyone present, Jian Wushuang opened his mouth. I didn't bother about the territories and the territories before the 3 holy realms, but one thing is that the territory where the old nests of the 3 holy realms are located will be controlled by Qixing Xuanzong. I don't know if there are different opinions. Jian Wushuang let everyone express their opinions this time. I Cut the Sky Alliance, no opinion. The Cut Sky Alliance leader first spoke. The Lord of Time and Space, no opinion. The Lord of Time and Space also spoke. At the beginning, Qixing Xuanzong was destroyed in the hands of the 3 sacred realms. Now Qixing Xuanzong is about to rise again. The old nest occupying the 3 sacred realms is very reasonable, and my ancestor dojo has no opinion. All 3 major free alliances have stated their positions. The sectarians underneath each other saw this and looked at each other, afraid to say a few words. Judging from the attitude of Jian Wushuang and the 3 major free alliances, it is clear that they have long decided to hand over the territory, where the 3 holy realms and old nests are located, to the 7-star Xuanzong, and let the 7-star Xuanzong rise again. That being the case, what opportunities do they have to force? Of course, even though the best territory was given to the 7-star Xuanzong, many of the territories that the remaining 3 sacred domains, had previously mastered, were still very attractive to them. You leave the remaining things to distribute by yourself. Sword Wuxia waved his hand, but has turned and left. My 3 major free alliances are not interested in territories. You should watch those things yourself. The 3 major free alliances, the Lord of the Heavens, said as a representative, and then left directly as for the 4 major protoss. Because there is already a huge demon domain with very good cultivation conditions. Yes, other places are also afraid to be interested. Nor have they been in conflict with this territory and the battlefield. On the contrary, the 6-party Tianzong began to argue with the territories for these territories. Of course, no matter how they fight, this has nothing to do with Jian Wuxia. On top of the void, the conscious avatars of Jian Wuxia, the Lord of the Heavens, the Lord of Time and Space, and the gods and the ancestors of Tianxian are standing there, looking down at the ground below. These 3 sacred realms are eventually destroyed. Jian Wuxia sighed. He clearly remembers that he was pushed to the extreme by the 3 holy realms several times. A few times he almost died in the hands of the 3 holy realms. At the same time, from the last life, these 3 holy places were a mountain to him. This mountain has been blocking him, even trying to crush him, but he has survived time and time again, until now, finally crushed the mountain completely. Once upon a time, these 3 sacred realms were to me a giant and scared to see it, but now it's just a ruin. Jian Wuxia chuckled, but a complex look flashed in his eyes. Chapter 3696. Hey, the second is here. I saw that the 3 sacred realms were completely destroyed, and still in their own hands. In addition to the pleasure of revenge, Jian Wuxia had a strange emotion in his heart. After all, it is the 3 sacred realms. What a deep connotation is in the endless years, the divine realm has been supreme, but within 2 days, it is completely destroyed, and in the beginning divine realm disappears. Recalling the original 7-star Xuanzong, the strength is even stronger than the 3 sacred realms. Even the masters have 3 enough, but also died out in the First World War. Fortunately, there is a means left by Xian Yi. Otherwise Qixing Xuanzong has been completely submerged in history for a long time, and it is impossible to have a chance to rise again. Stubborn as the 3 sacred realms, Qixing Xuanzong are all the same. What's more, like Ling Yunxing, who he joined in the Magic Smoke Valley before. It is a big force in the depths of the universe. The Ling Yunxing master is a supreme superpower, and he is a hegemon in the depths of the universe. But as a result, Ling Yunxing was finally destroyed in the end, and countless strong men died and fled. The whereabouts of the Lingyun star is unknown. The times are changing, and no one, any sect of power, born in this world, can always guarantee his prosperity. What they can do is to continuously improve their strength, as much as possible. Only with absolute strength can they truly keep themselves. And Jian Wuxia is far from this step. Although he is now invincible in the early world of God, if placed in the entire universe, he is still very weak. Although the 3 sacred realms have been destroyed, in the beginning, the realm of the gods could not be completely calmed down, and there is still a force that must find a way to destroy it. Jian Wuxia suddenly said, Tianho Xiaoyu, what you said should be the of which gods, right? Yes. Jian Wuxia nodded. Which god? Compared to the strong and overbearing dominance of the 3 sacred realms, which gods have always been hidden in the secret. The sorceress of witchcraft has been trying to capture special lives and some higher-level bloodline powers. No one knows what the Wuxian religion is, and no one knows where the old nest of the Wuxian religion is. But there is one thing, that is, the Wuxian religion has been active in the early years of the gods these years. Behind many things, there are more or less shadows of the Wuxian religion. In addition, Jian Wuxia knows that the 3 holy realms and the Wuxian religion once stood in the same camp. When the 3 holy realms set up the Tianludi net to kill themselves on Palau Island, the Wuxian religion also shot to help the 3 holy realms of. A long time ago, there was also a so-called prophet in the witch god religion. Relying on his own special means, he found his place directly, and sent the ruler himself to kill him, but he failed in the end. For a mysterious force like Witch God, Jian Wushuang is naturally impossible to forget. This time, he shot to destroy the three holy realms. He thought that the Wuxian religion would also participate in it, and would help the three holy religions to resist his own camp. However, after this battle, he did not see any strong shadow. This battle Wuxian did not participate at all. Until the destruction of the three sacred realms is clean, there is no one in Wuxianism. This makes Jian Wushuang very confused. This Witch God religion is very unique. The Lord of Time and Space said, "According to what I have learned, Witch God, the leader of Witch God, is not a cultivator in my early world. He is a master from outside. Under normal circumstances, the masters from outside the world will be rejected by the will of the heavens, and their strength will be greatly suppressed, far more than I would have been born in this astral world. The Lord of God is much larger, but the suppression of the witch in the early world of God seems not so huge. I had played against him many years ago, and his ability to burst out is not much weaker than mine. Couldn't it be this Witch God, but also from Demon Star, the strong one under Demon Star's master?" Cho Tianming said. "No, if he is a strong one from Devil Star, then I will not be surprised at the strength he can show," Xian Shinto said. "The key point is that people from the Star House on the side of Demon Star have heard that there is no such thing as a Witch God in Demon Star. Besides, if this devil is really a Demon Star, then I will destroy the three majors before why didn't he this which shoot in the sanctuary? In the previous battle, the three masters from Demon Star were all shot, and they were all beheaded by Tianhou Xiaoyu. Even in the end, the Star Luo master appeared, but the witch has not yet appeared, so it is certain that this witch is not a strong one. Perhaps, because of some special reasons, he reached an agreement with the Lord of the Demon Star, so that he could stay in the pre-God world, and his power was not greatly suppressed. In addition, the Devil Star the Lord also allows him to do things secretly, such as the arrest of special lives. If this is the case, this witch is a bit mysterious," Tianzu said. "Whatever the purpose of the Wuxian religion in the early world of the gods, and whether or not that war has reached some agreement with the Lord of the Clouds, this Wuxian religion has helped the three sanctuaries to deal with me 3 or 2 times. And these in the early days of the protoss of the witch gods in the early years. Those wacky things this witch god should not exist." Jian Wushuang's voice was cold. "Cut the Lord of the Sky, Time and Space, ancestors, bother you three to use your alliance's intelligence as much as possible, and find ways to find the old nest of witch gods. Although the three sacred realms are now extinct, if this witch deity continues to exist and do all kinds of unseen things, I will still have trouble sleeping and eating. I must find out the witch deity and destroy it." I heard the words of Jian Wushuang, and the Lord of the Cut Heaven Alliance nodded. They are also aware of the potential threats of the witch god. If the sorceress continued to exist in the Taichi Divine Realm, it would be equivalent to a time bomb for the Taichi Divine Realm. Maybe it would suddenly explode, so it's better to find out and destroy it. Rest assured, we will immediately let people check. No matter how good this witch is hidden, as long as it is in the early world of God, then I can't escape the eyes of my three major freedom alliances. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. Jian Wushuang still believes in the capabilities of the three major free alliances. Secondly, if it is only in the Taichu Divine Realm, Jian Wushuang's combat power is indeed much stronger than the three of them, because they will be greatly restricted in the Taichu Divine Realm, but Jian Wushuang is not. As for the battlefield of the universe, Jian Wushuang's combat power is also a high-level level. Among them, I am afraid that only the leader who cut the sky may be able to fight. In this case, it is true that Jian Wushuang is the first person in the early world of God. The tacit consent of the three masters also fully satisfies the title of Jian Wushuang, the first person in the beginning. Quickly, Jian Tianhao's name resounded through the whole early world. And this time, his fame followed the status of the divine realm in the early days, and he completely surpassed those ancient masters. Wu Taike's first person, Jian Tianhou, was fully implemented. The vast universe is boundless. In a certain distance from the early divine realm, although it is still on the edge of the universe, it is no longer some barren place in the universe. In this territory, there are hundreds of astral planes in existence, and there are as many as 2 astral planes. You know, the star field where the world was in the beginning was not a second-level star. Among the 6 second-order boundary stars, there is a boundary star surrounded by a large amount of black mist, as if the magic cloud is constantly rolling. This astral world is the magic cloud star. In front of the towering dark purple hall, a man over 3 meters tall with messy hair and a dirty body was lying there halfway. And behind him was a snow-white demon wolf howling. This man and his beast depend on each other, a relaxed and cozy look. I don't know, when is the head on this day? The burly man murmured, turned out his hand, and took out a jug. Took a big sip when he looked up. But he hadn't had time to put down the jug. Humph! A cold humming blasted loudly in this world. There was a hint of anger in the cold hum. I heard the cold hum. The burly man was frightened. The jug in his hand almost came out. And he and the demon wolf both stood up immediately. Tell King Binglan, and say that this seat will give him a maximum of 30,000 years. If he fails to meet the requirements of this seat within 30,000 years, this seat will immediately set foot on his Iceland. The domineering voice sounded in this world. Observe. The burly man immediately bowed for his life. Suddenly, after the voice faded away, the burly man and the demon wolf just sighed softly. What's going on? Didn't Lord Star give 100,000 years to King Binglan before? Why did you give it only 30,000 years? As far as I know, King Binglan has been following King Star's ask to act. Did not disobey the Lord's order? The burly man muttered. Who knows anyway, since the Lord has given the order, then King Binglan must obey it honestly. That demon wolf spoke the human voice. Hey, 30,000 years, to meet such a requirement, King Binglan is miserable this time, and I don't know if it is good. Chapter 3698. Hey, the second is here. I heard that Lord Star has recently sent 3 masters to accomplish an extremely important thing. Is it possible that nothing has changed in this matter? The burly man said again. Control him. It has nothing to do with us anyway, the demon wolf said. That's right. The burly man smiled, and soon went to convey the order. At the deepest part of the deep purple towering hall, an endless dark atmosphere filled the entire hall. Amidst the dark fog in the center of the hall, a pair of cold eyes opened sharply. Giantian, huh? It's a bit interesting. Wait. It won't be long before this seat will find you in person, haha. The insane laughter sounded, and the laughter lasted for a long time in the temple. In the early days of Taizhou, the old nests before the 3 holy realms are now in ruins. But this ruin can be rebuilt. Now the strong man of Qixing Xuanzong, and started to rebuild. As for the many sectarian forces that participated in this battle at the beginning, after dividing the results of each other, they left one by one. The powerful armies of the 4 major protoss have also returned to the demon realm. Shower, who is now recognized as the power of the 4 protoss, has temporarily remained. The original is because of Emperor 13. On a peaceful lake, a wooden boat drifted in the wind. On the wooden boat, a man and a woman nestled together, whispering to each other, and a faint laughter came from time to time. When Jian Wushuang came to the surrounding void, he saw the scene below, but his face became strange. The 2 people on the wooden boat below were naturally Emperor Shursan and Shower. The 2 of them were in love with each other. At the beginning of the battle, Shower, for Emperor 13, even at the expense of the 9-tailed tribe. At last, due to the destruction of the 7-star Xuanzong, after the entire 7-star god realm was banned, Emperor 13 remained in the seal. In time, Shower started the 9th reincarnation in order to cultivate the 9-life charm. Until now, countless years have passed, and the 2 finally meet again. Although so many years have passed, their affection has not changed at all. What makes the sword unparalleled is the look of Emperor 13 at the moment. In his impression, Emperor 13 was an extremely arrogant person. He began to deal with Emperor 13 in the last life, and speaking for many years, He has always seen Emperor 13 with a cold face. No matter who he is facing, whether he is his own person or the enemy, fortunately, his expression never changed. But now this Emperor 13 is with Shower. There is still a little indifference, and the smile that emerges on his face is so natural. I did not expect this Emperor 13, there is such a side. Wu Jianshou smiled, and immediately swept down, and soon appeared in front of Emperor 13 and Shower. Jian Wushuang, you are here. Seeing Jian Wushuang coming, Emperor 13's smile converged on his face, and once again turned into a Bingshan. Master Tianhou. Shower salutes respectfully, although Jian Wushuang was once an ally with her, and was not as good as her for a long time. Even long ago Jian Wushuang was just a little guy in front of her, but now, Jian Wushuang has already been recognized as the first in the pre-God world. The strong, even the Lord and Holy Lord, can easily be killed. Such a super strong. Shower also had to bring a trace of awe. Emperor 13, didn't I disturb you? Jian Wushuang played with the taste. No. Emperor 13 shook his head. The things in the 7-star Xuanzong are already being dealt with by the Xianyan Palace Master. I shouldn't need to show up. You come to me now. Is that for you? Emperor 13 has faintly guessed the origin of Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang smiled and said, You also know that in the early days of the Divine Realm, even in the surrounding star field, you can compare with me in understanding of Kendo. It is estimated that it is only you. And when was yours Kendo once made me look up. And now it's so hard to catch up with you. Naturally I want to compete with you. Before in the chaotic world of ancient times, you and I could not fully exert our sword power. But now in the early world of God, there is nothing to worry about. Emperor 13, how long does it take for your strength to recover to its peak? Jian Wushuang asked him. He wants to fight against Emperor 13. Of course, Jian Wushuang just wanted to compete and teach. As for strength, he was much better than Emperor 13. If the two were duel against each other, it would definitely be unfair to Emperor 13. However, he also knew that Emperor 13 had been in the chaotic world of ancient times, and he had been sleeping for a long time. He was completely in the weakest state. Although he has now returned to the early world of God, it will take time to recover to the peak. About 30 years. Emperor 13. Is it 30 years? Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. That being the case, I will come to you in 30 years. I'm waiting. Emperor nodded at 13. Farewell. Wu Jianshou smiled, and then left directly. After Jian Wushuang left. 13. Do you really have to fight against Jian Tianhou? Shower immediately looked over. Of course, when I battled with him in the chaotic world of ancient times, this battle was already agreed upon, and I couldn't avoid it. Emperor 13 said, As far as strength is concerned, even this sword master can easily be beheaded and killed by the Lord of the Sacred Realm? Shower frowned. In terms of strength, I am definitely inferior to him, but I compare with him only kendo and swordplay. At this point I am confident and will not lose to him. Emperor Shishir laughed. In other words, are you sure you can win him in that battle? Shower was surprised. That's not true. When he confronted the three masters before, I saw that his understanding of kendo was not much lower than mine. And he also created a 7th order advanced tertiary school, although it was only a kind. But that sword is amazing. It can be said that there is not much difference between him and him in terms of understanding of kendo and swordplay. But one thing is that the swordplay he created is not as comprehensive as mine. So when the time comes really after fighting, my chance of winning should be 70%, and he is 30%. Emperor 13 was flat. He said this, it seemed a bit loud. In fact, anyone who is familiar with Emperor 13 knows that he is an extremely arrogant person and never exaggerates. Since he said that his odds are 70%, those who are familiar with him know that his odds are more than 70%, and may even reach 80% or even 90%. Emperor Sun 13, although it has existed many years ago, and because he has been sleeping for many years, he has not made much progress in kendo, but his understanding of kendo has always been unparalleled. Although Jian Wushuang is now qualified to rival him in kendo, it is still unknown whether he can really surpass him. Chapter 3699. Hey, the second is here. In the beginning of the Tai Kingdom, there was a vast territory. Here, it is the edge of the endless territory. From here onward, it is the core of the divine realm in the early days, where the triple heaven is. At this moment, Jian Wushuang came here, and they were still with everyone in the chaotic world of eternity. Here it is. Jian Wu's eyes were dull, overlooking the ground below. This territory is still within the bounds of endless territory. Of course, the cultivation environment here is not as good as Mietian, but the level of practitioners here is far from being comparable to Mietian. Here the saint can become a hegemon. God deity, in one sacred realm, also exists at the top. In such a place, Jian Wushuang will naturally not take a closer look now, but for everyone in the chaotic world of ancient times, it is already large enough. You must know that practitioners in the chaotic world of ancient times, because of the limitation of the heavens and the earth, they are the strongest only at the emperor level, that is, the state of chaos. The chaos state belongs to the ants in the endless territory. They still have a long way to go. If Jian Wushuang directly placed them in the triple sky, it would be possible because of his existence. But for practitioners in the chaotic world of eternity, it lacks many experience effects. What Wu Jinshuang wants now is that these practitioners of the chaotic world of eternity can have a place to stay after coming out of the chaotic world of eternity, and then slowly grow on their own abilities, and step on the peak step by step. Therefore, it is undoubtedly the best choice to place practitioners in the chaos world of endless chaos. And here is the edge of the endless territory itself, close to the triple sky. Even if the practitioners of chaos world of eternity grow up in the future, it is also convenient to go to the triple stage, heaven and earth. With the existence of the sword unparalleled, everyone in the chaotic world of ancient times soon occupied a sacred realm in this territory. This sacred realm was originally called Luotian Sacred Realm, but after it was occupied by the practitioners of the chaotic world of ancient times, it was changed to Eternal Holy World. There is no doubt that Jian Wushuang is the leader of the ancient sanctuary, and besides Jian Wushuang, the strongest white emperor is equivalent to the vice leader. When Jian Wushuang was absent, many matters of this ancient sanctuary were all made by Emperor decides. Eternal Holy Realm can be said to have just begun to be established, and everything is in vain. Fortunately, there is Jian Wushuang, the first strongest in the early years, and it is possible to omit many of the first steps. Even in terms of resources, Jian Wushuang directly left 20% of the resources that were divided up in the three sacred realms, and stayed in the Eternal Holy Realm. This resource is too huge, let alone an elder holy, that just came out of the chaotic world of eternal in the world. It is very easy to create a force that is comparable to the 8-party Tianzong, and even the 4 major protoss. Wu Jianwushuang gave these resources to Baida's control, but there are certain restrictions. After all, although there are many resources, considering that the chaotic world of ancient times will continue to be a strong power to come to the early gods, these resources should not be too wasteful. In addition, Jian Wushuang himself also left a lot of means in the ancient holy realm. For example, he personally set up a heavy law circle for the ancient holy realm. Because he didn't study too much about the method, he just laid it out. But to know his current strength, it's a high-level dominator, even if it is just a randomly arranged method. In this early world of God, however, no one was afraid of breaking it. In addition, Jian Wushuang also left a lot of trenches to the ancient holy realm. These trenches were obtained by Jian Wushuang from the powerful men who killed them in recent years, especially the 3 lords of the holy realm, and the trenches of the ruler left by the 3 masters, and even the ruler's trenches. There are dozens of them. He just took out a few of them and put them in the ancient holy realm to ensure the security of the ancient holy realm. After leaving the means for the ancient holy realm, Jian Wushuang directly left the chaotic world of the ancient holy realm in the ancient holy realm, and opened several different channels in the ancient holy realm. These several channels can lead to the early, There are several extremely important places in the world. Of course, there are also space passages directly leading to the triple sky. In short, Jian Wushuang has left everything necessary for a large sectarian gate. As for the eternal holy realm, he cannot know which step he can take in the future with these things. These can only rely on the elders of the chaotic world of eternity to fight for themselves. As for him, even now he can shelter the eternal holy realm for a while. But if the crisis of the eternal divine realm is completely lifted in the future, he will retake the eternal divine realm, and the deity must go to the depths of the ever more vast and chaotic world of eternity. At first, he only paid attention to the divine realm at the beginning, not to mention the ancient holy realm. After Sun had done everything, Jian Wushuang explained Baidi a few words, and then he returned to the chaotic world of ancient times. He has now received most of his relatives and friends in the early world of the gods, and now the chaotic world of eternity. He has not much nostalgia. He returned this time with only one purpose: to hide under the ancient battlefield, the last chance his master left for him. Tianjin Tianbei. But he heard the mysterious Shinto saying that when the town steel was born, there were more than 10 masters who participated in the competition alone, and even led to the fall of the master. His master, when he didn't get Zenshinbai, his strength was generally at the elementary level. He could get Zenshinbai. After thoroughly refining Zenshinbai, his combat power was even close to the top master. I wonder how amazing this monument is in this town. After knowing this, Jian Wushuang also had a longing for this town monument. However, he also knows the treasures like Zenshinbai are by no means easy to refining in a short time. So after he came to the chaotic world of ancient times, he didn't pay attention to this town. Until now, he has settled the chaotic world of eternity, and the 3 sacred realms have been completely destroyed. At present, in the early world of the gods, except for the potential witch gods, the people of Demon Star have no idea when. He would have nothing else to do except to come back again. Chapter 3700. The first is here. In the beginning, the division only had the primary dominance, but since mastering this town monument, it has been able to jump to almost the top level. Such a treasure is naturally no small matter, but I do know how strange this town monument is. Place. With a hint of anticipation, Jian Wushuang's consciousness immediately covered the gray stone monument, which was nearly 10 feet high. Consciousness was integrated into Jintian Monument, and almost instantly Jian Wushuang felt the mysterious patterns hidden in Jintian Monument. Wu Jian Wushuang can only sense these secret lines, except that he cannot sense the existence of anything. These secret lines are so mysterious. Wu Jian Wushuang asked himself that he is not weak now. In the early days, the world was definitely the best. But at this moment he saw the secret lines in the town's monument, and for a while he didn't know why. But Jian Wushuang understands that these secret lines are probably the key to controlling this town's sky monument. And after Jian Wushuang's careful investigation, they played, and the secret patterns hidden in Jintian Bay were roughly divided into 3 triple secret lines. Each has a great relationship with the town's Tianbei. Unsurprisingly, this triple secret pattern should be the way to control this town's monument. The triple secret pattern, as long as I understand the first, should be able to use this town monument normally. Jian Wushuang murmured. He already knew the way to control the sky monument. However, the way is to understand, but this process is never so easy. After all, these secret lines hidden in the Jintian Monument are indeed too deep and unpredictable. Jian Wushuang has observed it for a long time, but he has no clue. Master Zunzi is a wizard, but it took a long time to get the town monument once he got the town monument. That is to say, it took a long time for the master to the first secret pattern in this town's monument is mastered by Wutua. Master, it takes so long. I must master this first secret line, it must be a long time. Not in a hurry, I'll take it slowly. Wu Jianshou smiled lightly. Even if he sat down in front of the town monument, closed his eyes, and began to fully understand the secret patterns in the town monument. Time passed and 10 days passed. For the past 10 days, Jian Wushuang has been in a state of ignorance, because he has been invisible to those secret lines. And only 10 days later, he barely saw something from these secret lines. The law of the universe. In this secret line, there are laws of the universe. Wu Jinshuang opened his eyes with a hint of shock in his eyes. The supreme rule of the universe. Under normal circumstances, even the master is not qualified to participate in enlightenment, and only the legendary supreme power can be qualified to contact. But it's just contact, but it is still very difficult to understand. Sword Wushuang, now just a ruler, may reasonably be exposed to the laws of the universe, but because he completely refined the chaotic world of ancient times, the laws of the universe came down in person, and the laws of the universe covered him. At that time the body gives him the opportunity to experience the laws of the universe up close. That opportunity for practitioners is simply a fortune. Although he did not get substantial benefits from the close contact with the laws of the universe, there were too many intangible benefits. Just like now, under normal circumstances, he can't feel the existence of the laws of the universe from these secret lines. But because he has been in close contact with the laws of the universe before, so after 10 days of enlightenment he can feel it. No wonder these secret lines are so difficult to comprehend. It turned out that these secret lines were derived from the laws of the universe. Jian Wushuang sighed lightly. The law of the universe is too transcendent, and he is not able to comprehend it at all. Even though Jian Wushuang now encounters not the pure cosmic laws, but the secret lines formed by the cosmic laws after its evolution, the difficulty of understanding is much lower than the direct understanding of the laws of the universe. In terms of difficulty, it is still too big. Fortunately, I have experienced it from a close distance, and have been exposed to the laws of the universe. This has at least given me the possibility of enlightenment. If there was no such encounter, this town monument would be in front of me. Sword Wushuangdo. He knows that if he wants to understand the secret lines in this town's monument, he must first be able to feel the existence of the law of the universe inside. Jian Wushuang was able to comprehend because of the relationship of the last opportunity. So if he did not have that opportunity, he would only have to stare. Strange, when Master received Jintian Bei, he was only the master of the rules. He was also ineligible to touch the laws of the universe. But he still mastered Jintian Bei in the end. The secret lines derived from the laws of the universe, for comprehension? Jian Wushuang wondered. You must know that his master did not have the same opportunity as him. But no law of the universe came, and he gave it to him personally. But Xuani finally mastered the Jintian monument. If this is the case, Xuani must have also had other opportunities, and he must have come into close contact with the laws of the universe by chance. Knowing the truth, then, I just need to take the time to slowly understand. Wu Jinsho took a deep breath. He knew that it would be extremely difficult to fully comprehend these secret patterns of Jintian Bei, even if it was only the first one. But there was no way in order to master Jintian Monument, spend a lot of time slowly learning. Even this process will be very long. But the good news is that after all, these secret lines are derived from the laws of the universe. Jian Wushuang can also get a lot of benefits in the process of enlightenment. In the process, improving your understanding of Kendo, as well as the use of various rules and understanding, are of great help. This kind of help is definitely better than using some special resources to cultivate yourself. Under this ancient battlefield, before the town monument, Jian Wushuang was completely immersed in the enlightenment of the secret pattern. Time passes quickly. In a blink of an eye, 30 years passed. In these 30 years, Jian Wushuang has been immersed in the realization of the secret pattern, and there is no moment to stop. Even so, his current understanding of the first secret line is still poor, and it can be said that there is no understanding at all. At most, he has only a little understanding and familiarity with this heavy secret line. Jian Wushuang looked at the divine sword in his hand and said, "Yo-yo. For the sake of fairness, of course, The sword Wushuang will not take out the Huangquan Excalibur, the strongest treasure. Even without planning to use the universe treasure, he will fight with the Blood Peak sword. After all, Xiefeng's sword has the longest time with him, the deepest feelings, and he is the most familiar. With the Xiefeng sword, Jian Wushuang can perfectly exert his kendo and sword skills. Emperor 13 knew the purpose of the sword, and immediately turned over, and took out a blue magic sword. This sword, named Zhanyue, had been with me for a long time. It was also not a cosmic treasure but mighty. Nothing is weaker than the Blood Peak sword Excalibur in your hand. Very good. Wu Jian smiled, the two eyes looked at each other. The next moment, two silhouettes moved at the same time. It has started. This battle is finally here. One is the legend of Kendo, the other is a new rise, but it is already invincible to the myth of the early gods. The two men's Kendo confrontation, who is strong and who is weak. It's hard to say who is strong and who is weak. After all, their understanding of Kendo has gone beyond the scope of the early gods, and reached a whole new level. But it is certain that this battle will be extremely exciting. Many powerful men watching the battle around stared at this battle with anticipation. Their eyes are also attentively looking at the void ahead, for fear of missing the details of this battle. Under the gaze of countless strong men, Jian Wushuang and Emperor 13 finally confronted each other. Howl! Wow! 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 I saw countless sword lights, and immediately burst out. Suddenly the place where the two confronted each other turned into a sea of kendo. In this kendo ocean, Jian Wushuang and Emperor 13's body flickered one after another, as if they were two ghosts. Every flash will be accompanied by a lot of jingguang at the same time. These sword lights were unveiled by the two at the moment when their bodies flickered. And it was such a flashing moment, they have already fought sword art no less than dozens of times. This will cause a large amount of jingguang to follow each flash. So fast. It's only a moment, so many sword lights are on display. It's too fast. The swordsmanship of these two people is too fast. The people who watched the battle around him produced a lot of amazing sounds in the first place. Even the three powerful men who dominated the Alliance of Heaven, the Lord of Time and Space and Xianyan, could not help but admire the sight of the scene in front of them. Neither of them has the first time to perform a knack or any sword skill. They are pure swords, they are fighting for speed. It's not that simple. The Lord of the Heavens shook his head. It seems to be a simple speed competition, but in fact the sword art of the two of them is carrying the Kendo universe origin, and the Kendo universe origin greatly increases their sword speed therefore. In this speed competition, they are actually competing on both sides, who have a higher understanding of the origin of Kendo universe. Chapter 3702. The first is here. That's right. If there is no Kendo universe origin integrated into it, it is impossible to erupt such a terrible speed instantly with the power of the Lord, who only uses the general rules at this moment. Xianyan also nodded. The two of them, this is just the beginning, and now it is only a basic temptation, but even so, this scene is still shocking enough. The Master of Space and Time laughed. These dominators have strong strength, high vision, and naturally can see a lot of things. They all know that Jian Wushuang and Emperor 13 are now just tentative, and they have not yet moved. Even then, the frantic flickering figure and the sky sword that burst out from that moment still shocked the people watching. Both men obviously only use the power of the Lord of the General Rules. After the origin of Kendo universe, the terrible swordsmanship can be performed, and the Lord of the Extraordinary Rules can still match. Ha, 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 ha. The crickets were filled with dozens of clashes, and the figures of Jian Wushuang and Emperor 13 were finally separated. Jian Wushuang, it seems that I despise you. I thought you had just reached the 4th level of Kendo, and you should not have a deep understanding of the origin of Kendo universe. But you barely felt a little bit. But you did not expect that you would know the origin of Kendo universe. It's already a certain feeling, and it's not even under me at all. Emperor 13 stood there, and in the cold look, There was a rare excitement. This excitement is only possible when you meet a real opponent. You are the same. It is indeed the first transcendent figure in the early world of the gods to set foot on the fourth level and master the origin of Kendo universe. Your understanding of the origin of Kendo universe had already been like this when the seven stars Xuanzong destroyed the war. Come on, if it weren't for the later years, you were all asleep. With your Kendo talent, now you have a sense of the origin of the Kendo universe. I am afraid that it has already reached a brand new level that can only make me look up. Jian Wushuang also praised Road. At the beginning of the tentative confrontation between the two, they both explored each other's understanding of the origin of Kendo universe. Obviously, the two have similar levels of understanding of the origin of Kendo universe. Because of this, in the tentative confrontation just now, the two talents will compete with each other, and there is no difference in the speed of swordplay. But in fact, only Jian Wushuang knows that he is now able to compete with Emperor 13, mainly because he has been enlightening the secret lines in the town's monument in the past 30 years. On the way, he was extremely helpful to his Kendo, deepening his understanding of the origin of Kendo universe. If Sun Ce hadn't made progress in these 30 years, if he looked at the peak of Emperor 13 30 years ago, if he only competed with Kendo, then he would definitely be worse than Emperor 13 in the perception of the origin of Kendo universe. Jian Wushuang, I already know your level of understanding of the origin of Kendo universe, and what I want to know next is your accomplishment in swordplay. Emperor 13, I am also looking forward to it. Jian Wushuang smiled. So then I will have a sword. Emperor 13 looked indifferent, and the sword in his hand suddenly burst into a bright light at this moment. This light is like a huge sun, vast and magnificent, and countless powerful swords all condensed in this sun. Emperor 13 had a sword. His body is not moving. He just points the sword in his hand, pointing away in the direction where the sword is unparalleled. In a moment, the huge sword meaning sun swept out, and when it appeared in the void where Jian Wushuang was, it burst directly. Buzz! Hum! 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 Countless innocents, the cold sword image, formed a huge sword-like ocean in an instant. This sword is full of oceans, and for a while, madly pressed in all directions towards that sword. He is like the same mighty Kendo area. Within this sea of swordsmanship, Emperor 13 is like the master of Kendo. The two of them are finally taking it seriously. Look at it carefully. The Lord of Space and Time also showed expectations. Jian Wushuang, who is completely covered in the field of Kendo, looked at the surrounding scenes, but his expression was a movement. This trick is familiar. He knows this trick. That was the last life, the crisis encountered in the chaotic world of eternity. When he faced the Blood Emperor from the Blood Tribe, the Emperor 13 came forward to fight the Blood Emperor. Trick. However, because it was in the chaotic world of ancient times, and was restricted by heaven, Emperor 13 had only half a step of magic power. The power of this move was probably less than 1/1000th. Until now, Emperor Xii's strength has returned to its peak, and without any restrictions, the true power of this sword has been fully revealed in his hands. That sword-like ocean that is wanting to hit, the waves of sword-like impact coming towards the sword unparalleled like the tide. Even if it is the sword unparalleled, cannot help but marvel. Is it just the impact of Genie Ocean? Jian Wushuang frowned. No, it shouldn't be that simple. Although the impact of Jianyi's sword in front of him is terrible, it will also have a great impact on his strength. But judging from the power of this sword-like ocean, this sword is not so simple. But the fact is true. Sword is unparalleled, pick me a sword. Emperor sword. Emperor Zizing glanced at Jian Wushuang. The sword in his hand was cut out straight. A seemingly ordinary sword, which can be cut out instantly. Immediately a bright sword light swept out. This sword is bright enough to cause damage to the eyes of ordinary practitioners, and the extremely dazzling light instantly makes it the focus of heaven and earth. Everyone's eyes seem to have only this sword left. Do you master the level? Jian Wushuang looked calm. He saw the extraordinariness of the sword, but he was not afraid, only to see his body flicker, and a violent force was released instantly. Wushuang Sword Code. Jian Sun Cold Jingguang, with the endless violent meaning, suddenly cut off. In the blink of an eye, he collided with the dazzling Jingguang directly. Both of them are masters of peerless level, and the power they use at the moment is exactly the same, and even the two have similar feelings about the origin of Kendo universe. Under this sword, the two sword lights disappeared at the same time. Emperor 13, your sword skills, is it only to such a degree? Jian Wushuang looked at Emperor 13. Chapter 3703. Hey, the second is here. Emperor 13 shot again, but this time wow. 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 The dazzling Jingguang whistled out. Each Jingguang is so dazzling and so eye-catching. With each sword, mighty power is so arrogant. From the moment Emperor 13 was cast out by Sun Ku, there were dozens of such sword lights. What? Jian Wushuang was startled. The people who watched the battle around him were shocked to see the swords that were cut out from the hands of Emperor 13. How could this be? Those swordsmanships are so powerful. I feel that any sword is a masterpiece of mastery. All of a sudden, so many masters of science are on display. Everyone is shocked. You have to know that the mastery level of peerlessness is extremely powerful. It is not easy to display this level of peerless skills. Even though Jian Wushuang now has a high level of awareness of Kendo, and even has created a 7th order advanced mastery, even if he wants to perform the 7th order primary mastery, he must come with a sword and a sword. Dozens of swords of light are directly displayed in one breath. Each one can be comparable to the master level of extinction. It's in the realm of Kendo. The sword did not sink in double-sided color, and saw the sword light that came from each attack, but it was not afraid. His shape greeted him directly, and Xiefeng's sword in his hand also waved. Dang! Clang! 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 An extremely dense impact sounded, and these dozens of sword lights were resisted by the sword. But after all, it is the mastery of mastery level. This resists, and Jian Wushuang is also very strenuous. After dozens of collisions, his body is forced to retreat a great distance. Jane 13 saw this, but his eyes were still so cold, and he waved with him again. Howl! Wow! 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 I saw a dazzling sword light, like a storm, swept out again. This scene stunned the people watching the game. They didn't expect that Emperor 13 would perform the sword technique at the level of domination. It would be so easy, as if it was a hand-to-hand. Wu Jian's eyes were also sinking, followed by an erupting genie moment. This sword with endless hatred rushed towards Wuxia. Dominate the level of extinction, never die, is also a sword skill in attack and kill. To death endlessly is a kind of image created by Jian Wushuang. In power, it must be a whole lot stronger. If it is said that the elephants are only the most common among the 7th order elementary peers, then the endless trick is definitely the top level in the 7th order elementary peers. Boom! With a fierce roar, the void was directly opened into a huge cave. Fearing in that cave, terrible mighty power swept through, with that endless hatred, sweeping all directions, and at the same time smashed all those bright sword lights from Emperor 13. And Jian Wushuang is also a step forward, already appeared in front of Emperor 13. Howl! Raging power with endless flames, rises instantly. 7th order advanced tertiary education. The sun is burning. Boom! As if the volcano that had been silent for billions of years erupted suddenly. This sword contained terrifying power, and erupted completely in front of Emperor 13. Seeing this now, Emperor 13 was still calm. At the moment when the sword light was cut, the sword in his hand was straight out. Hidden sword. The two words that are light and fluttering are swept up with a unique sword. The void in which Emperor Sun 13 was located seemed to start to undergo great changes at this moment. Wu Mingming is a vast void, suddenly forming a heavy storm eye. A horror-swirling wind, more than 1,000 meters in diameter appears. What is terrible is that this eye of the wind is completely transformed by the sword. Jian Wushuang's sword technique with explosive power shows all its power in the eye of the wind, but it can act in the center of the eye. But in a moment, It is strangled by the power of the eye, and the strangulation is clean, nothing was left. Buzz! The sword changed, and the huge vortex eye suddenly disappeared. The Emperor 13 appeared again in front of the sword, and his complexion was still incomparable. Even if the sword with the horror that Jian Wushuang had just faced did not appear at all the change. It was obvious that the sword that Wushuang had just cast had been blocked by him lightly. And not only did he not suffer any damage, not even step backwards. He took the sword Wushuang on the front. This was the strongest sword 30 years ago. The Emperor 13 didn't move? So terrible swordsmanship. Even the power weakened by the star-burning sun is instantly cleaned. Emperor 13, you have created such a defensive swordplay. Jian Wushuang stared at Emperor 13 in front of his body, physically and mentally. Shocked. Swords are unparalleled. Your swordsmanship is indeed very strong. At least in terms of attack. Your explosive power contained in swordsmanship is far above my strongest sword. But Kendo is not just about attacking and killing mighty power. That's it. Emperor 13 calmly spoke. Do you know where the gap exists between you and me? It is in swordplay that I have created a complete swordplay system, with my swordplay centered on the world of swords, and then evolved to be able to continue to attack and kill. The Emperor's sword has also evolved a Tibetan sword that can defend against all attacks. In addition, there are various sword techniques used to entangle the enemy and cause instant kills. This is a complete swordplay system, attackable, defensive, advanceable and retreatable, and mutually reinforcing. Even in this sword world, I have very little consumption of swordplay. But your swordsmanship is different. Although your swordsmanship also includes various aspects, they are all used for attack and kill. That is to say, your swordsmanship only pursues attack and kill. But you are far worse in defense and advancement. Today's battle, you are in the world of my sword. Even if you show all your swordsmanship, you will not be able to break my Tibetan sword. But you can face my swordsmanship, but you have no defense. This battle you lose. The 13th look of Emperor is still indifferent, but his words are full of absolute confidence. He is indeed full of confidence in his sword system. Because of this, he would have so much confidence before that he could defeat Jian Wushuang on the kendo. It turns out that his self-confidence is by no means unpredictable. Just for a brief encounter, Jian Wushuang has already performed the 7th level advanced mastery. It is no surprise that this should be the strongest sword created by Jian Wushuang, but it still cannot break his hidden sword. Chapter 3704. Third More. A complete swordplay system? Jian Wushuang's eyes narrowed slightly. Once upon a time, he also wanted to create a complete swordplay system. Thus, there was the later Wushuang sword. However, as Emperor 13 said, the Wushuang sword code is all about attacking and killing swordsmanship. But it does not even have one type of defensive swordsmanship. It is indeed incomplete. In contrast, Emperor 13's swordsmanship, based on the world of swords, and then evolved the Emperor sword and Tibetan sword that can be attacked and defended. The world of this sword itself is equivalent to the field of swordsmanship. The sword impact of the ocean at that moment has always had an impact on sword Wushuang itself. What God 13 said, his swordsmanship is indeed a complete system. And this swordsmanship system, just like a magic circle, can also complement each other, attack and defend one, and advance and retreat. Such swordsmanship is indeed powerful. Emperor 13, the man who was once called the first kendo genius of the early divine realm, Jian Wushuang finally truly learned today. There are many places in the opponent's achievements in swordplay that he cannot reach. And this is because in the past 30 years, he has made great progress in kendo and swordplay by seeing the secret lines in that town sky monument. Already, Emperor 13, I'd like to see if your swordplay system is really complete, and if it is really that powerful. Jian Wushuang licked his lips and shot again the next moment. Wow! 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 The light of the sword shines, which moves the origin of the kendo universe. I saw that on the battlefield, Jian Wushuang had fully demonstrated his sword skills. Like the several swordsmanships in the Wushuang Sword Classic, as well as the purple charms, swords such as the rainbow created in that special time and space, and even the 7th-tier advanced peerless spark created by Jian Wushuang. He is the biggest degree of exertion, time and time again, while fighting against Emperor 13 Emperor's sword. He wanted to break Emperor Xi's hidden sword. However, the Tibetan sword of Emperor 13 seems to be integrated with the whole sword world. This sword technique is almost impeccable. Even the fire of the sun cannot regret this Tibetan sword. Other sword techniques of the sword unparalleled, cannot be broken. In contrast, Emperor 13's Emperor's sword seems to be not very powerful, but the key is that he can easily display it. He shot at will dozens of swords, and dozens of Emperor's swords were cut at the same time. This gave the sword Wushuang brought great trouble. There is also a sword like ocean that is constantly impacting. Even during the battle, Emperor 13 also performed other sword techniques derived from the world of swords. Among them, there was even one type of sword power that was extremely powerful. How much weaker the sword of the sword warrior is. When confronted with this, people with good eyes can see that Jian Wushuang is at an absolute disadvantage. It is normal. As long as the Tibetan sword cannot be broken. From the beginning, Emperor 13 has been invincible. It is indeed Emperor Xi's sword system. He created a sword system that can be attacked from a distance, and can be prevented from near. And it is impeccable. Even in the world of swords, Jian Tianhou has nothing to do with the sword art of Emperor 13. In fact, Jian Tianhou's sword skills are already very strong and terrible, especially the sword that bursts out like a fierce fire. The power is really terrible and strong and suffocating. But even that sword cannot be broken. Open the 13 Tibetan sword. This Emperor 13 did not know how his swordsmanship was created. It was too strong. The people watching around were amazed. They can all see that this battle is that Jian Wushuang is in a disadvantage, but they do not feel that Jian Wushuang's swordsmanship is weak, but that the sword system of Emperor 13 is too strong and abnormal. Even those lords secretly groaned when they saw the scene in front of them. It seems that the outcome has been determined. Xianyan smiled. It's a pity. The Lord of the Cut Heavens sighed. In fact, simply on the understanding of the origin of Kendo universe, Jian Tianhou is not weaker than Emperor 13, but in the sword art created by both sides, Emperor 13 is stronger. Go ahead. If it is a frontal battle for power, Tianhou Xiaoyu will not be weaker, or even stronger than Emperor 13. However, Emperor He 13 has created a complete sword system. In the world of swords, it is almost invincible. Under the same authority, Tianhou Xiaoyu really can't help it. It's normal to lose. After all, Emperor 13 has been passed down from the era of Qixing Xuanzong, and Emperor 13 is at the level of the rule, but he has stayed for a long time. He has been studying Kendo for a long time, studying sword art. Therefore, it is possible to create this complete swordplay system. And this sword heaven, the practice time is still too short, and it has not been long to master the origin of Kendo universe. In swordplay he still has a long way to go. However, in such a short period of time, it is possible to reach such a high achievement in Kendo perception, and it will be sooner or later to surpass Emperor 13 in the future. I hope this battle will not cause too much damage to Tianhou Xiaoyu. The Lord of Time and Space sighed. Inside these three masters, Xianyan is better. It is still a pity that the Lord of the Sky and the Lord of Time and Space are cut. They actually hoped that Jian Wushuang could defeat Emperor 13 in this battle, but the reality was, sword unparalleled, you can't break my Tibetan sword, let it go. In the battlefield, Emperor 13 looked indifferent, staring at Jian Wushuang. In this battle, from the beginning to the end, Emperor 13 seemed extremely calm. On the other hand, Jian Wushuang has been extremely embarrassed by the sword of Emperor 13. In addition, Jian Wushuang has not been able to break the Tibetan sword of Emperor 13. So in many people's opinion, the battle has actually been determined. But after hearing Emperor Xi's words, Jian Wushuang smiled. Emperor 13, the swordplay system you created really admired me and gave me a lot of inspiration. I never thought that sword art could with such a complete system. Even swordsmanship can evolve and complement each other. I have to thank you for giving me a lesson, but it's unlikely that you want me to give in so easily. Oh. Emperor 13 looked at Jian Wushuang in surprise. In the current situation, Jian Wushuang didn't know it yet. Could it be possible? What other cards did he use on Kendo? Emperor 13, I admit that if I confronted you 30 years ago, I would never be your opponent, but now, it may not be. Jian Wushuang smiled lightly. Do you still have stronger swordsmanship? The 13 eyes flashed in surprise. Jian Wushuang smiled. It was the default. Yes, 30 years ago, the strongest swordplay he created was the trick of burning the sun. But in the past 30 years, he has realized the secret patterns under the town's sky monument. And the progress in Kendo has been tremendous. And he has also made a great breakthrough in swordplay. Now, he has indeed created a sword technique that is far stronger than the sunburn. Chapter 3705. The first is more. Emperor 13, pick me up. Jian Wushuang smiled lightly, and the blood peak sword in his hand also lightened at this moment. He held the blood peak sword in both hands at the same time, and raised it high. And suddenly a large number of Kendo universe origins seemed to be attracted and raging. The sword of Wushuang has not yet fallen, it is just in the making. But this brewing process shocked everyone present. Heavenly sword, is there really any stronger swordsmanship? Looking like this, it seems like this. Just looking at his sword's brewing process, his power is extremely extraordinary. The people watching the battle all stared at the scene in the field. As for the Emperor 13's look still indifferent, he stared at Jian Wushuang. It's useless, your understanding of the origin of the Kendo universe is similar to mine. At most, the sword skill that can be created by this kind of understanding can only reach the 7th level. Advanced with this level of swordplay, my Tibetan sword cannot be broken. Oh, is that it? Jian Wushuang smiled indiscriminately. Following the blood peak sword in his hand, it finally fell. Wow. A sword is cut out, and the void is completely chaotic. There was no roar or explosive sound, and the sword that Wushuang cut out at this moment did not seem to have such terrible power. Of course, the magic sword fell, but an icy sword light directly cut the space relentlessly, tearing up everything in front of it, and ruthlessly beheaded at the 13th emperor. If Jian Wushuang's 7th tier advanced peerless star-burning sun was created before, it's extremely violent, and it is an instant burst of shocking power. Then the sword he is casting now is cold and ruthless. This cold and ruthless sword seems to cut through everything that is encountered. Nothing can block its edge. The name of this sword is Luo Huangquan. A sword fell to Huangquan Road. This sword, originally supposed to be cast by Huangquan's Excalibur, is more appropriate, but now it is only a Kendo competition. Sword Wushuang's exaltation with the blood peak Excalibur can already show its mighty power. The people watching the battle around saw this cold and ruthless, as if they could cut all the sword lights, and their hearts were trembling. What a terrible sword! This sword is too strong. It is obviously far away from us, but I can still feel the invincibility of the sword. This sword is indeed stronger than the swordsmanship performed before Jiantianhe. I don't know if Emperor 13 can resist it. The expectant eyes were staring at the battlefield. Everyone watched intently, for fear of missing even one picture. And in the middle of the battlefield, the cold, ruthless, invincible Jingguang has appeared in front of Emperor 13. Emperor 13's look remained unchanged. Hidden sword. As Emperor 13's voice fell, the horrifying vortex-like wind eye with a diameter of more than 1,000 meters reappeared. This eye of the wind still contains the power to strangle everything, enough to resolve any offensive. Prior to the sword Wushuang shot again and again, no matter how he performed the sword, even if it was performed by the spark of the sun, he could not defeat the wind, but was completely resolved by the wind. It is also with this move that Emperor 13 is almost incomparable in this sword world. Now, Emperor 13 is casting the same sword, but the difference is that he is facing the falling Huangquan style that Jian Wushuang casts enough to cut through all obstacles in front of him. Laugh. There was still not much roar, and the cold and ruthless sword light darted into the center of the eye of the wind, producing only the sound of energy colliding with each other. Everyone originally thought that this cold and ruthless sword light should be gradually worn away by the wind eye as before. But suddenly, boom! The whole wind eye suddenly produced a fierce roar. Immediately, countless sword-like violent rises. This sword-like vortex wind eye also lost its previous balance and directly rioted. And the eye of the wind was the most central, and the cold and ruthless Jingguang burst into a bright light. It's awkward. The whole wind eye has been completely broken up. The sky's sword intentions crumbled towards the surroundings. What? Emperor 13 finally showed shock, and the self-confidence deep in his heart disappeared at the moment when the eye of the wind was shattered. He previously thought that Jian Wushuang's perception of the origin of Kendo universe was similar to him. The sword art he could create was at most a 7th level higher level, which was not strong. Facts have proved that the sword of Huang Quan, that is currently being cast by Jian Wushuang, is indeed only the 7th level advanced peerless school. But he never expected that it was this sword that directly defeated his Tibetan sword. The law of the universe. This sword contains a breath of the laws of the universe. Emperor 13's body trembled, and his pupils enlarged and sunken. At the moment the sword Yifeng's eyes collapsed, he noticed the special breath in the cold and ruthless sword light. That very special breath. Although he had never been in close contact, he felt it anyway. That is the supreme law of the universe, the breath that the law of the universe can have. There is a breath of the laws of the universe in the sword art performed by Jian Wushuang? This is simply incredible. Compared to the thrill of Emperor 13, Jian Wushuang looked very calm, and a faint smile appeared on his face. In the past 30 years, I worked hard to study the secret lines under the sky monument in that town. The secret lines were originally derived from the laws of the universe. The enchanted laws of the universe are extremely strong. Before the laws of the universe came down, I was also near distance, and the law of the universe have been contacted. Because of my close contact and the opportunity to get up close, I was able to grasp the breath of the law of the universe by virtue of the law of the universe in the secret line. Although the breath of this cosmic law is extremely weak and extremely small, it is after all the supreme cosmic law. I incorporated it into my swordsmanship, which created the trick of falling Huangquan. Yes, the Tibetan sword of Emperor 13 is very good. Based on the ordinary 7th order advanced extinction, it is impossible to break his Tibetan sword. But the 7th level advanced extinction sword technique, with a hint of the law of the universe, is enough. His Tibetan sword was crushed head-on. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands tightly. The breath of the law of the universe is just a hint of the breath of the law of the universe, not the true law of the universe. Chapter 3706. Wandao Sword Master, Second More. Ha! After Jian Yifeng's eyes were broken, the cold and ruthless one did not completely dissipate, but carried the good power directly to Emperor 13. Jian Guang eventually dissipated, but the world was completely silent. Around the battlefield, countless strong men looked at the scene in front of them, and their eyes were full of shock. The Tibetan sword of Emperor 13 was broken? His sword system was defeated by the sword Tianhou? Are you defeated? One after another sounded in horror. Jian Wushuang held the sword, stood in the void, and stared at Emperor 13 in front. Emperor Zizing, looking at the white trace on the chest of the treasure, had an incredible look in his eyes. But soon, Emperor Xii's expression calmed down. He raised his head again and looked at Jian Wushuang, but a rare smile appeared on his face. 1. This battle is indeed a sword winless. In the eyes of everyone, the strongest sword cast by Jian Wushuang directly defeated Emperor Xii's sword system, and cut it on Emperor Xii's body. Although this sword did not bring much damage to Emperor 13, it was able to defeat its sword system, which has shown that sword Wushuang is stronger than Emperor 13. Emperor 13 was defeated and convinced. The swordplay system you created is really amazing. If I had some special opportunities in these years, and made great progress in Kendo, I would never be your opponent. Jian Wushuang also praised. He praised Emperor 13 sincerely. Whether the opponent is in the understanding of kendo or the swordplay system he created, it is really powerful. In particular, the swordplay system has given him great inspiration. If it were not for his chance that he could incorporate a breath of cosmic law into swordplay, he would not be able to defeat the opponent in kendo. Therefore, a strong swordsman like Emperor 13 is naturally enough to make the sword unparalleled. Losing is losing. There is no other reason. From today on, you are really worthy of the gods in the beginning. Kendo is the strongest. Emperor 13 said. Although he lost, he didn't lose a bit of words. And even on the contrary, he still had a touch of joy. Obviously, he hoped that Jian Wushuang could defeat him in kendo. The reason is without him. Precisely because he is invincible for too long on the kendo. The so-called loneliness of the master is precisely because he has been invincible. So he longs for someone to challenge his status. Even in kendo defeat him. But for a long time. But no one has been able to do so. He is completely it's boring to find no opponent. But today someone has done it. Jian Wushuang used kendo. And in a fair competition he wins him. On the contrary, he felt a sense of relief. And at the same time he had a joy from the heart. In addition, there is another reason. That is what Jian Wushuang was carrying. But the hope of the whole early gods. Only Jian Wushuang can let Taichu God Realm get rid of the master of the demon star. And only he can restore Taichu God Realm to normal operation. Therefore, Jian Wushuang's strength is very important to the early gods. Now seeing Jian Wushuang's accomplishments on the kendo are so high, and even a breath of the law of the universe is incorporated into the sword art. This surprised the Emperor 13, and was also glad that Jian Wushuang could be so strong. The stronger Jian Shuang's strength, the greater the hope of representing the early gods. Countless powerful men watching the battle around heard what Emperor 13 said. Starting today, Jian Wushuang was the strongest sword in the early world, and everyone was shocked. With countless words full of awe and worship, Zhao Jinsho looked over. Next to the void, the Lord of the Heavens, the Lord of Time and Space, and Xian Yin also came over. Jian Tianhou, be able to defeat Emperor 13 in the kendo, you are really powerful. Xian Yin said. He didn't like Jian Wushuang at first, mainly because of Xian Yi's relationship. However, because of the amazing strength that Jian Wushuang showed later, he changed his attitude towards Jian Wushuang. And now he sees Jian Wushuang defeating Emperor 13 on the kendo front. And even he can't help but marvel. You know, he is very clear about Emperor Xi's kendo attainment, and Emperor Xi's talent in kendo has once frightened him. But now, Jian Wushuang's talent in kendo is obviously stronger than Emperor 13. It's so young, and it's only the master of the rules, but it has mastered a breath of the laws of the universe. It's incredible. Jian Tianhou is looking forward to your future growth. The eyes of the master of the Celestial Alliance flickered with a strong light, staring at Jian Wushuang. You're all welcome. Jian Wushuang smiled and looked around. This is the end of the war today. If there is nothing else, I will leave first. Jian Wushuang did not stay more. He had been immersed in the study of the first secret pattern in Jintian Bay, but only because he had an agreement with Emperor 13 before. He would temporarily stop having the amazing kendo battle. But now that the war is over, he will naturally return to the chaotic world of ancient times and delve into the secret lines in the town's monument again. After all, the secret pattern of the town's Tianbei is too esoteric. Even if it is only the first, he spent 30 years and has not been able to get started. After Jian Wushuang left, all the people watching the battle also dispersed. However, after this war, the name of Jian Wushuang, the strongest kendo in the early world of God, was fully implemented. The original name was Emperor 13. Although Emperor 13 was defeated by Jian Wushuang, he did not suffer a slight blow. On the contrary, because of the last battle, because Jian Wushuang's last sword with the breath of the law of the universe, because he was defeated by Jian Wushuang on the kendo, he caused a great shock in his heart. This shock made his bottleneck, which had stopped for many years, begin to loosen. In this battle, the harvest of Emperor 13 was also huge. So after the end of the war, Emperor 13 began the retreat directly. In the chaotic world of ancient times, before the town monument, Jian Wushuang sat down again. I didn't expect that just a breath of the laws of the universe would raise my sword power to a whole new level. I do know if one day I really have a grasp of the laws of the universe, how strong is that? Jian Wushuang clenched his hands, his eyes flashed sharply. But soon, he closed his eyes and began to devote himself to the realization of the first secret line. Time passes again. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.